Hubby, you, what are you saying? Imran's mouth fell slightly agape after hearing him. She looked at Zhou Heng. He didn't seem to be joking. He looked quite serious. Zhou Heng shook his head, sighed, and continued. Ever since we started university, we've been studying at such high intensity, with almost no time to rest. It's been so tiring. Your body developed problems, and I didn't even know. Thinking back to our high school days, how happy we were going to school together, studying together, going home together, eating, sleeping. Back then, there wasn't so much pressure, and you definitely weren't so tense and anxious. Since leaving the hospital today, Zhou Heng had been pondering this question. He felt, had he lost sight of what was truly important? He had been constantly thinking about working hard, taking over Juan, possessing a very strong background, power, and resources. The allure of money and power. Few could resist it, and Zhou Heng was no exception. He was too eager to take over Juan. Although he treated Mingran well, it was true that he hadn't taken care of her emotional needs. She appeared so strong on the surface, but was so fragile underneath. He had been a very incompetent husband, so he had carefully considered what he truly wanted. In the end, he figured it out. He worked so hard just to give Mingran the best life. He knew Mingran didn't want these things, so wouldn't it be better if they gave them up and lived a simple life? Wouldn't that be better? After Zhou Heng finished speaking, Mingran didn't reply, but fell silent. The atmosphere became very quiet, and neither of them spoke for a long time. Zhou Heng didn't know what was wrong with Mingran. He lowered his head and silently wiped her feet. After a while, Mingran finally spoke. Hubby. Zhou Heng heard her voice and immediately looked up at Mingran, waiting for her answer. You know, before you came back today, Mom called me. She asked me to get ready to go to Hujo. This. Zhou Heng hadn't expected his mother to call Mingran over so quickly. Was it because he had started his internship at Juan? I agreed, and I also want to go sooner. Why? Zhou Heng asked, somewhat puzzled. If Mingran went to Hujo, they would be separated. Although Dongju and Hujo weren't too far apart, it wouldn't be possible to meet every day. They had always been together every day. How could they get used to being suddenly separated? Mingran took Zhou Heng's hand, pulled him to sit beside her, and then held his hand tightly. Because I want to catch up to you faster. I was anxious before because I always felt I wasn't good enough for you, but now. Didn't the doctor say my condition is getting better and better? I'm successfully pregnant now, so don't worry. If you're really worried, then I'll tell you a way. Let me go to Mom's place, work hard, strive to be as good as you. That way, I won't be anxious anymore. The idea you proposed is for you to step back, for us to live a passable life. So why can't I step up, so we can both live a life with full marks? Mingran's voice was very gentle, speaking steadily in Zhou Heng's ear, which calmed Zhou Heng's mood considerably. Do you really think so? Zhou Heng looked at Mingran and asked in a low voice. Mingran smiled, nodded, and replied, Of course, it couldn't be truer. Hubby, you're really good, very gentle, very considerate. You're the one who's anxious now. There's no need for it. Is that so? But if you go to Hujo, won't we be separated? You're pregnant now. We'll take care of you. Zhou Heng was still worried. After all, Mingran's situation was quite special now. She was a pregnant woman. Zhou Heng didn't feel at ease leaving Mingran alone. He always wanted to be by her side, taking care of her. Oh, hubby, I've only just gotten pregnant. I'm like a normal person. I don't need to be taken care of. And even if we're separated, it's only temporary. We can see each other whenever we have time. Even though Mingran had said so, Zhou Heng was still somewhat reluctant. He had just found out Mingran was pregnant. How could he let her go alone? But now, Mingran's face was full of anticipation, and there was a faint glint in her eyes. Mingran was serious. Zhou Heng knew. If he stopped her now, if he didn't let her go, it would definitely worsen her anxiety and make her very, very sad. All right then, I'll call my mom and tell her you're pregnant, ask her to take care of you. Zhou Heng compromised. He could only tell his mother and ask her to look after Mingran properly. Otherwise, he absolutely wouldn't be at ease. You can tell Mom, that's fine, but I really don't need to be taken care of, really. Mingran nodded. She felt that the pregnancy did need to be announced, but she didn't need anyone to take care of her. She felt perfectly fine. Zhou Heng stood up, took out his phone, and prepared to call his mother. After a few rings, the call connected. Hello? Son, what's up? Why the sudden call? Did Mingran tell you about coming to Hujo? Lu Wei's voice came from the other end of the line. Yeah, Mom. I have something to tell you. Zhou Heng felt his heart pounding. This kind of thing was really hard to bring up. Oh, what is it? You surely can't bear for Mingran to come to Hujo, right? Oh, it's okay. You'll still have many chances to meet. No, Mom, listen to me. Didn't we get our marriage certificate yesterday? And then, today, we went to the hospital for a checkup. Ran, she's pregnant. For a moment, the air seemed to freeze. Zhou Heng said no more, and Lu Wei on the other end also fell silent, not speaking for a long time. Mom, say something. After a while, Zhou Heng couldn't stand it anymore and spoke first. Inmen Gran sat there, stroking her belly, her head lowered, looking somewhat at a loss. Let me calm down. So, what are your plans? Let me hear your thoughts first. My thoughts are actually okay. I respect Ran's wishes. She wants to go to Hujo as planned. She wants to work hard, but I can't go with her. I've already started working at my dad's place. I understand. Don't worry about that. If Ran comes here, I'll take care of her. Let me confirm again. Are you sure? Ran is pregnant? Has it been checked? Yes. The doctor said if we don't have it this time, it's very likely she won't be able to conceive again, so we decided to have the baby. Of course. Don't you dare terminate it. You must have it. I'm going to be a grandmother. Does your dad know about this? Not yet. I called you first. Good. I'll go call him. You guys decide on this yourselves. Anyway, if Ran comes to me, I'll definitely take better care of her than you would. Beep. Before Zhou Heng could say anything more, the call was disconnected. Zhou Heng glanced at his phone and smiled helplessly. He could sense that his mother was about to burst with excitement. She was probably in her office, and it wasn't convenient, otherwise he felt she would have shouted out loud. Zhou Heng and Inmen Gran looked at each other and smiled. Well, Mom said if you go there, she'll take even more meticulous care of you than I do. I'm not worried about that. It's just... Zhou Heng trailed off, pursing his lips, looking at Inmen Gran with a troubled expression. What's wrong? What's the main thing? Zhou Heng slowly walked over, hugged Inmen Gran, and whispered in her ear, mainly, I'll miss you. Inmen Gran's body trembled slightly, a smile playing on her lips. She moved closer to Zhou Heng's cheek, nuzzled him with her nose, and said, I'll miss you too. Let's meet whenever we have free time. Okay. That night, it was as if they had returned to the time when they first lived together, holding each other tightly as they slept. Even without speaking, they communicated with their bodies and souls, pressing close to each other, feeling each other's warmth, until they slowly drifted off to sleep. Early the next morning, when the sky was just beginning to lighten, Zhou Heng heard a series of knocks on the door. Knock. The knocking was very light. Zhou Heng didn't know who it was, but he decided to ignore it, pretending he was still asleep and hadn't heard. Whoever it was, knocking so early, what urgent matter could there be? Weren't they disturbing their rest? But after a long time, the person at the door hadn't left and was still knocking lightly. Zhou Heng couldn't ignore it anymore. Though the sound wasn't loud, he couldn't just let the person stand outside indefinitely. Who on earth is it? Zhou Heng muttered helplessly, then put on his slippers and walked to the door. Who is it? Zhou Heng opened the door and looked. The person at the door made him freeze for a moment. Mom, why are you here? Standing at the door was Lu Wei. Lu Wei directly ignored Zhou Heng, her gaze bypassing him to look behind him, asking, Where's Ran? Not up yet, right? Yeah, still sleeping. It's okay. Let her sleep. Rest well. I'm here to pick her up. I can't let her go to Hujo alone, can I? Lu Wei walked into the room, her footsteps becoming very light, as if afraid of waking the sleeping Inmen Gran. Zhou Heng followed behind, looking at the soundly asleep Inmen Gran on the bed, and muttered softly, Usually, if I make even a little noise, she wakes up. Being pregnant makes one tired, and it's normal to be sleepy. Let her rest well. We'll talk when she wakes up. Lu Wei sat on the sofa, crossed her legs, and looked at Inmen Gran sleeping, smiling faintly. I never expected. I'm going to be a grandmother. Oh my, heaven is truly kind. It can only be said. It was an accident, a pleasant surprise. I'm rather lacking in knowledge in this area. I didn't expect this to happen. When I heard the doctor say her health isn't actually very good, and that getting pregnant was a rare thing, I was stunned. Zhou Heng stood there, his eyes full of heartache, as he looked at Inmen Gran. Then she needs even better care? Our family can't be without descendants. Don't worry, I'll take good care of her, definitely better than when she's with you. Lu Wei shot Zhou Heng a look, as if to say, Look how you've taken care of Inmen Gran. Zhou Heng was very embarrassed, scratched his head, and muttered, Of course I'm relieved about that. It's just suddenly having to be temporarily separated from her. I'm a bit unaccustomed. What are you afraid of? You can meet any time you're free. Isn't it right for you to visit her often? Your dad and I have already agreed. We'll arrange rest time for you every week. She's pregnant. How can we let her not see her beloved for a long time? That would definitely lead to depression. Separating you temporarily is beneficial. Distance creates beauty. It will make your relationship better. Zhou looked at Lu Wei and asked faintly, "Is that how it is with you and Dad?" "Nonsense." Just then, they heard a knock on the door. Both looked toward the door, and Zhou hurried to open it. After opening the door, Tang Ji was standing there. "Morning, I brought you breakfast. You probably haven't eaten yet, right?" Tang Ji glanced at Zhou, greeted him, and then held up the breakfast she was carrying. Haven't eaten?" Zhou stepped aside, allowing Tang Ji to see Lu Wei sitting inside. Lu Wei smiled faintly and waved. Tang Ji said softly, "Auntie is here. Perfect, I bought a lot. Shall we eat together?" "Quiet down. Ran isn't awake yet." "Ah, still not awake." Tang Ji immediately lowered her voice. Previously, when she came to find Zhou and Mingran was always up early. After Tang Ji came in, she saw Mingran still lying in bed asleep. She had just turned over, hugging her pillow tightly, probably mistaking the pillow for Zhou. The three of them stood there, staring at Mingran for a while. And just at that moment, Mingran opened her eyes. Her vision was still hazy, unable to clearly see what was in front of her. She reached out her hand, fumbled on the bed, and in a slightly coquettish tone, said softly, "Hubby, where did you go?" Zhou smiled, came to the bedside and responded, "I'm right here, wifey." Upon seeing Zhou, Mingran's lips immediately bloomed into a sweet smile, and she opened her arms, hugs, kisses. Zhou paused, then glanced to the side. There were two other people there. Being affectionate in front of his own mother, wasn't that a bit inappropriate? Mingran noticed Zhou gaze and looked over, seeing Tang Ji and Lu Wei there. Mingran was startled, instantly awake. She quickly sat up and stammered, "Tang Ji, Mom, when did you arrive?" She'd just been acting so coquettishly with Zhou. Thinking about it, Mingran felt her face flush rapidly, feeling hot. "We just arrived. Sorry to disturb your rest. Did you sleep well? Want to sleep a bit more?" Lu Wei looked at Mingran's face and smiled faintly. "Oh no, I slept well. I don't need to sleep anymore." Mingran pursed her lips and looked at Zhou beside her with a slightly reproachful gaze. She was so embarrassed. Mom and Tang Ji were here. Why didn't he wake her up? She was still sleeping there. Zhou was also a bit embarrassed. He himself was still in his pajamas, having just gotten up not long ago. After Zhou and Mingran changed their clothes, they got up. The four of them had breakfast together and chatted for a while. After all, in a little while, the four of them would be going their separate ways. Zhou and Tang Ji to Juan, and Lu Wei to take Mingran to Tianheng and Hujo. Lu Wei said a lot, telling them not to get worked up, that they would see each other every few days and wouldn't be kept apart for too long. Zhou and Mingran understood this, so they weren't overly reluctant to part. After breakfast, Zhou and Tang Ji prepared to leave for Juan. Today was his first day at work, and he didn't know what it would be like. Zhou and Mingran said their goodbyes. Although they were reluctant, they also understood this was their best choice. Anyway, it would only last for a few months. When Mingran was about to give birth and couldn't work, Zhou would also take leave to take care of her. Subsequently, Zhou and Tang Ji left first, leaving Lu Wei and Mingran still at home. Mingran also quickly went to pack her luggage, preparing to go to Hujo with Lu Wei. Lu Wei looked at her phone, then suddenly spoke, "By the way, dear, about what I told you yesterday, have you considered it? The matter concerning Yuling Shua." Mingran paused, then straightened up, surprised. I forgot. Mom. It's okay. It's normal to be a bit forgetful now. So what do you think? Do you have any thoughts now? I think it's feasible. She's a very good friend. Having her by my side is a good choice. Her abilities are also very strong. She can definitely help Tianheng. Perhaps. The only thing to consider is the issue with her father. Mingran remembered what Lu Wei had told her yesterday, whether to bring Yuling Shua along. Lu Wei felt Yuling Shua was a good kid, and if she had a good relationship with Mingran, bringing her along would be a good helper. But she was, after all, Yu Yinghai's daughter. Yu Yinghai posed a certain threat at Juan, and this could be considered the father affecting the child's reputation. Yuling Shua was actually very troubled by this matter, but there was nothing she could do. I've decided to trust her. After all these years with her, she has never harmed me. She is a very good friend of mine. Her father's actions cannot affect her. Mingran nodded, her eyes resolute, without a hint of hesitation. This was the trust she had built up in Yuling Shua over many years. Lu Wei nodded silently and responded, "Okay, got it. Then you discuss it with her. We need her consent, after all." Okay. Then, Mom, please give me some time. I'll go find her. Good. No rush. Be careful. Zhou Heng and Tang Ji arrived at Juanheng. It was also Tang Ji's first time at Juanheng. Looking at the group campus that resembled a scenic area, she couldn't help but feel a little nervous. She calmed herself down, trying not to be nervous, wanting to present her best self. Everyone who entered here was a top student during their school days. She wasn't special at all. She was going to be the president's secretary's assistant. This job was obtained through connections, after all. She had to put in 100 times more effort than others. Otherwise, even if she got the position through connections, she wouldn't be able to hold it to sit firmly. The two of them arrived at the entrance of the office building, preparing to go in. Tang Ji saw that the security at the entrance was very strict. If she had come here by herself, she probably wouldn't have been able to get in. Zhou Heng came to the entrance, first scanned his face to open the door, then said to the security guard beside him, "Hello. I need to bring this person in. Could you make an exception?" The security guard glanced at Tang Ji, then looked Zhou Heng up and down, frowning slightly, and said, "Is this a client? Doesn't look like it. Young man, family or friends are not allowed to enter casually. This person is going to complete her onboarding today. She, TSK, Sai, I can't explain it clearly." Zhou Heng didn't know what to say. He then took out his employee badge, handed it to the security guard, and said, "Could you please make an exception?" The security guard frowned, took the badge, and looked at it. His eyes instantly widened. President's assistant? The security guard looked up at Zhou Heng, then back at the badge, comparing them several times before confirming his identity. But where did this president's assistant suddenly appear from? Was there one before? Or were there too many people, and he hadn't noticed? This person was so young. How did he become the president's assistant? Yes. I'm so sorry. We're just following the rules. We didn't mean to stop you. Please forgive us. The security guard returned the badge to Zhou Heng, and then Tang Ji saw the 40-something security guard bowing and scraping to the 20-something Zhou Heng, apologizing profusely. The position of president's assistant was much more powerful than any manager. A single word from him could decide the fate of this security guard. Such a person really couldn't be stopped casually. Zhou Heng nodded and said with a smile, "Thank you." Then he led Tang Ji inside. Tang Ji, walking beside Zhou Heng, said in a low voice, Well, you haven't even officially started your job yet, and you already have the air of a leader. You shut up. Pregnant. Shua." In the coffee shop, Yuling Shua couldn't help but stand up and exclaim. Hearing what Mingran had just said absolutely stunned her. In front of Mingran was a glass of milk. She raised a finger, quickly making a Shua gesture, motioning for Yuling Shua to lower her voice. Yuling Shua's shout just now had attracted the attention of everyone else in the coffee shop. Oh. Yuling Shua, her face full of astonishment, covered her mouth and slowly sat down, her eyes wide. Really? When was it checked? Really, just yesterday. Went to the hospital for a checkup. Only you and Tang Ji know about this. Don't tell anyone else yet. Mingran said in a low voice, feeling particularly embarrassed. She hadn't gotten used to being pregnant herself, so the fewer people who knew about the pregnancy, the better. Got it. Don't worry, I'll definitely keep it a secret. Yuling Shua nodded repeatedly, promising. But she still couldn't believe that Mingran was actually pregnant, so suddenly. Her good friend was about to become a mother. It was natural for her to be surprised when such a thing happened. Then you just said you're going to Hujo? What about Zhou Heng? Isn't he going with you? He's at Juanheng, still quite busy. We can meet occasionally. I came to ask you if you're planning to go to Tianheng with me. Upon hearing this, Yuling Shua's eyes filled with disbelief. She blinked and stammered. Can I go? She had been looking forward to this day, to go to Tianheng, to get away from Dongzhu, away from Juanheng, and away from her father. Hearing Mingran's words felt like a dream. Of course you can. I came to invite you. Mom means the same thing. She asked me to ask you. She thinks you're pretty good. Really? President Liu also? Yuling Shua was surprised once again. She hadn't expected to gain Liu Wei's approval. How about it? Only you can accompany me. It's quite lonely without friends around. I'm already pregnant. Look after me a bit, okay? Mingran showed a sweet smile and said softly, leaving Yuling Shua with no reason to refuse. Of course, that's great. This is what I hope for too. I will definitely work hard. That's good. Then you pack up, tell your family. I'll head back first. Let me know when you're packed. After getting Yuling Shua's reply, Mingran prepared to go back. She couldn't leave Liu Wei alone there for too long. Bye. After Yuling Shua said goodbye to Mingran, the smile on her lips slowly faded, her expression turning gloomy. She muttered, No need to tell family. Anyway, that person doesn't care where I go. The thought that she could finally get away from all this made her happy just thinking about it. Yuling Shua immediately went back to pack her luggage. Now, she was the only one in the dormitory. Tang Ji had gone to Juanheng, and Jingyu was busy with work every day. She was already very bored being here alone. Now that she could go with Mingran, whether it was to take care of her or to work, she was very happy. After Mingran returned, she also packed her things. Then, she prepared to leave with Lu Wei. Yuling Shua packed very quickly and was waiting with her things at the Juanheng building early on. Finally, Lu Wei and Mingran came out. President Lu. Upon seeing Lu Wei, Yuling Shua quickly bowed and greeted her. Lu Wei smiled faintly and nodded. She had previously told her to just call her Annie Lu, but now that she was preparing to work at Tianheng, it was normal to call her President Lu. At the company, she couldn't just call her Annie. After loading their things into the car, the three of them set off, leaving Dongji University for Hujo. At this time, at Juanheng, Zhou Heng had already taken Tang Ji to complete her onboarding. Tang Ji's position was assistant to the president's secretary. This was much lower than Zhou Heng's position, but she was already very happy. She hadn't expected to join Juanheng just like that. Was this the thrill of using connections? It was so smooth. After onboarding, Tang Ji started working with Liang Yufeng, the president's secretary. For the next 3 years, she would follow this male secretary, learning various work details. Zhou Heng, following Zhou Junyao instructions, went to his office to find him. After entering the office, Zhou Junyao was sitting at his desk, seemingly working. Zhou Heng didn't disturb him and sat quietly to the side, waiting for him to finish. After about 10 minutes, Zhou Junyao sighed and looked at Zhou Heng. Xiao Ran is pregnant, right? Your mom told me yesterday. Yes. She went to my mom's place. By now, she should be close to Hujo, right? Zhou Heng nodded and replied. He had just received a message from Mingran, saying she was almost in Hujo and telling him not to worry. That's good. Your mother said that if she doesn't successfully give birth this time, she might not be able to conceive again. That's what the doctor said. The reason seems to be that Ranran's health isn't very good. As for the specific reason, I don't really understand either. Got it. Then, you must protect her well. Don't let anything happen to her or the child in her belly. Zhou Junyao stood up, walked to the window, hands behind his back, and said faintly, Definitely. Even if you can't take over Juanheng in the future, you can raise your child well and let him take over. Although our family doesn't have a throne to inherit, such a large enterprise cannot be handed over to outsiders. Zhou Junyao narrowed his eyes, gazing at the scenery outside the window, and said in a low voice. Then, Zhou Heng suddenly thought of a problem, stood up, came behind Zhou Junyao, and asked then, What if the child isn't saved, and Mingran can no longer get pregnant? What then, Dad? Let me say this beforehand. It's impossible for me to separate from Mingran. Whether she can have children or not, I want to be with her. This is unchangeable. Zhou Junyao turned his head, looked at Zhou Heng, chuckled lightly, patted his shoulder, and said, Good lad, worthy of being my son. In that case, you protect her well. Don't let that situation happen. I definitely will, but seriously, if that situation arises, what should we do? Should we adopt a child? When the time comes, we'll figure something out. Zhou Junyao didn't answer this question, waving his hand. In reality, he didn't know what to do either. If he made some drastic decision, it would surely displease Zhou Heng, and he couldn't say much more. At the door of the president's office, a hand paused on the doorknob, not opening the door. This person had been pressed against the door, listening to the conversation inside. Only when the two inside had finished talking did he lower his hand, a strange smile playing on his lips. He chose not to enter, but turned and left, returning to his own office. Vice President's office. President Yu, where did you go? There's a document here that needs your signature. Oh. Yuling Hai walked back behind his desk, sat down, and took the document. But in his mind, he kept thinking about what had just happened. Zhou Juanyao's daughter-in-law was pregnant, and he also mentioned a very important piece of news. His son's child, meaning Zhou Heng's child, would also take over Juanheng. Zhou Junyao didn't want Juanheng to fall into the hands of outsiders, so it had to be Zhou Heng's child. But he said it had to be Zhou Heng's child. He didn't say it had to be Zhou Heng's child with whom, right? His daughter-in-law. It seemed if this pregnancy didn't work out, it would be very difficult for her to get pregnant again. He wouldn't possibly resort to something like IVF for this. There was no need. At that time, if Zhou Heng wanted a child, he would either adopt one, but an adopted child is not biological after all, still much worse than a biological one, or have another one with another woman. This kind of thing was perfectly normal for people like them. Anyway, there was no shortage of money to raise children, and of course, biological was best. President Yu. President Yu. Oh, what are you shouting for? I can't hear you. Yu Inghai came to his senses, glared at the secretary in front of him, then picked up a pen and signed the document. After the secretary left, and Yu Inghai was alone in the office, he took out his phone and dialed a number. The person was his daughter, Yuling Shua. He had already been disappointed in Yuling Shua. As a child, she was truly too incompetent. She didn't want good money, power, status, and insisted on pursuing some kind of friendship. In the end, she was just a little brat who understood nothing. He originally hadn't planned to place any more hope in Yuling Shua, but after hearing that news, he felt Yuling Shua still had a chance. The phone rang for a long time without anyone answering. Just as it was about to automatically hang up, the call was picked up. Hello, Dad, what is it? Yuling Shua's voice came from the other end. Her tone was very impatient, as if even saying those words was a great effort. What are you doing? Me? I'm busy. All right, since you called, I'll tell you. I've gone to Hujo, to Tianheng in Hujo. I'll be developing there from now on. Tianheng, what are you doing there? Get your ass back here. Yu Inghai instantly slammed the table and couldn't help but shout into the phone. Don't yell at me either. I'm almost there. I'm not coming back. Whether you agree or not, it doesn't matter. Yuling Shua was not at all surprised by her father's attitude. She even felt he should be like this. If he wasn't, then he wouldn't be him. But this time, she absolutely would not back down. It was as if she had found a new backer and no longer needed to go to great lengths to please her father. Yu Inghai frowned tightly, his face looking very grim. Thinking carefully, Tianheng was Lu Wei's territory. For her to go there, she couldn't have gone by herself, right? You? Who are you with? With Yin Mingran, is it? What about it? Yuling Shua didn't know why her father knew about Yin Mingran. She turned a glance at Yin Mingran beside her and replied softly. Yu Inghai knew he had guessed correctly. This daughter of his was truly a disappointment. She actually went to the competitor's place when she clearly had a better life to choose. She could have had anything, yet she was content to work under someone else. Useless. Good. Yuling Shua, are you really trying to anger me to death? I'm telling you, if you don't come back, you'll face the consequences. Yu Inghai was so angry he nearly ground his teeth to dust, shouting in his office, trying to scare Yuling Shua with his tone, because previously, whenever he got angry, Yuling Shua would immediately admit her mistake. But this time, it seemed to have no effect. I know. Thank you for the money and help you've given me since I was little. I will repay you. That's all. After Yuling Shua finished speaking, she hung up the phone. Yu Inghai, hearing the disconnected tone, was first slightly stunned, then so angry he directly threw his phone. Clack! Yu Inghai also sat down, staring straight ahead, his eyes fierce, clenching his teeth, and said in a low voice, I must let you know the consequences of defying me. Yin Mingran and Yuling Shua soon arrived in Hujo, at Tianheng. Although its scale wasn't as exaggerated as Juanheng's, it was still a renowned, large enterprise. At least in Hujo, it was already a leading one. Sigh, 2 more trucks to unload this afternoon. So tiring. At this moment, within the Tianheng campus, a middle-aged man sat by the roadside, his whole body exuding exhaustion. The towel around his neck was soaked with sweat. He smoked a cigarette, one puff after another, resting there, muttering something. He looked to be nearly 50, but the fatigue on his face made him appear even older. When he looked up, he happened to see Lu Wei walking by with Yin Mingran and Yuling Shua not far away. In an instant, he couldn't help but freeze. Although there were other people around them, surrounding Lu Wei and saying something, the man only stared at Yin Mingran among them, staring intently, his gaze seemingly frozen. The cigarette in his hand unknowingly fell. His expression also froze, remaining that way, completely unresponsive, until a call came from behind him, waking him up. Hey, time to work. Oldine, come quickly. Oh, coming. The man heard the call, immediately got up, and walked towards the back. After a few steps, he turned his head again, looking in that direction. After looking for a few seconds, he gave up and jogged over to get to work. Hubby, look at this. Yin Mingran, facing her phone, waved the employee badge in her hand, a smile on her face. She was video calling Zhou Heng. Zhou Heng smiled slightly when he saw it, and said, All done? Are you officially starting this afternoon? Yeah, Mom has arranged everything. Yuling Shua and I are living together. She can take care of me, don't worry. How about you? Did you start working this morning? Yeah. My head's about to explode. It's really troublesome. I can only take it slowly. Feels like it'll take a long time to gradually adapt. Take it slow. Don't wear yourself out. What about Tangji? How is she? She's much better than me. The secretary said she's exceptionally smart, won't even need 3 years, about a year, and she can replace him. Uh-huh. If it's Tang Ji, then that's quite normal. After chatting for a while longer, they hung up, preparing to go eat. At this time, Yuling Shua also came to find Yin Mingran. Yin Mingran looked at Yuling Shua and said, "Shall we go eat? Mom said we should try the cafeteria once, see if we like it, take a look around. If we don't like the food, she said she'd hire a private chef. I don't think that's necessary, right?" Yuling Shua covered her mouth and chuckled. "Of course it's necessary. You're very special right now. You can't be careless about what you eat. I feel fine just like before. I haven't had any morning sickness or similar reactions yet. Everyone's reaction to pregnancy is different. You must be careful. President Liu even told me to stay by your side, not to run around, and not to go to any workshops with radiation or dust." Yin Mingran stood up, put her hand on Yuling Shua's shoulder, and said, all right, I know. The cafeteria doesn't have radiation or dust, right? Let's go. Let's go eat. Don't let my baby go hungry." Okay. You and your baby are the most important now." Yuling Shua smiled helplessly and walked out of the office with her, preparing to go to the cafeteria to eat. Lu Wei returned to the company, and after settling Yin Mingran and Yuling Shua, she went to get busy. At Tianheng, it wasn't like Juanheng with so many leaders, each managing their own area. At Tianheng, Lu Wei was almost solely in charge, holding power tightly in her own hands, so there were many things to consider, and her free time was usually squeezed out. Yin Mingran and Yuling Shua arrived at Tianheng's cafeteria. There were 3 cafeterias in total, each very large, with everything inside, various vendors operating there. The meal cards they held had inexhaustible funds. Lu Wei had already arranged everything. It was as if they didn't need to spend a penny to eat here. Needless to say, for Yin Mingran, Yuling Shua was not only Yin Mingran's good friend, but also, after all, the daughter of Juanheng's vice president. Now that she had come here, Lu Wei had to give her special consideration out of courtesy. "What should we eat?" Yin Mingran looked around, her eyes almost blurring. She didn't know what to eat. There were simply too many options. Yuling Shua took out her phone and said, "Wait a moment. Let me check what pregnant women can eat." "Oh, it's okay. I'm not going to eat anything dangerous. Come on, let's go take a look." Yin Mingran took Yuling Shua's arm and led her forward to see what to eat. The two of them wandered around for a long time and finally chose what they wanted to eat. After buying it, they prepared to find a place to sit down and eat. There were many people eating at noon, and while there were empty seats, they were all at tables with others. It was difficult for the two of them to find a quieter spot. After standing and looking around for a long time, Yuling Shua pointed in a direction and said, "Let's sit there. There's only one girl there." Yin Mingran looked over and saw a single girl sitting in the corner, eating while looking at her phone. And she looked quite young, not much older than them. "Okay." The two walked over to the girl. Yin Mingran asked softly, "Hello, is this seat taken?" The girl looked up, took off her earphones, and quickly said, No, please sit." The moment their eyes met, Yin Mingran suddenly felt that this girl looked somewhat familiar, but she couldn't recall at that moment. She felt a bit like someone. Yin Mingran and Yuling Shua sat down and started eating. The girl stopped looking at her phone, put away her earphones, leaving a lot of space for the two of them, while only leaving a little for herself. Although this was a small detail, it made Yin Mingran feel that she seemed to understand etiquette quite well. "Which department are you from?" Yin Mingran took the initiative to ask. The girl looked up at Yin Mingran and replied, "Oh, I'm from the technical department. I just came here a year ago. Which department are you from?" Yin Mingran and Yuling Shua glanced at each other, wondering how to answer. They worked in the president's office. They didn't belong to any specific department. Yuling Shua spoke directly. "This is the new president's assistant, and I'm the secretary's assistant." "President's assistant?" The girl was truly taken aback, leaned her head forward, a surprised expression on her face. It was the first time she had heard of this position. No one had been president's assistant before. Yin Mingran also felt there was no need to hide it. Her position was what it was. It wasn't like she couldn't do anything. "Yes, we just arrived today. You should be the first person we've spoken to here." Yin Mingran nodded and said with a smile, "Ah." The girl was still a bit surprised, but she didn't doubt what Yin Mingran and the others said. After all, it was their first meeting. Who would boast like that? It made no sense. "My name is Yin Mingran, and she is Yuling Shua. May I ask your name?" "Oh, my name is Huai. Sorry, I didn't know your identities. My apologies for any discourtesy." No, we just felt you seemed quite friendly. That's why we spoke to you." Yin Mingran quickly waved her hand. She felt Huai was already very polite. She had just arrived here and still wanted to get to know more people, which would be helpful in the future. Wu Minghui nodded and said with a smile, If there's anything I can help with, feel free to ask. It's not about help, just casual chat. We just arrived here, unfamiliar with the place and people. We know very few people. Hearing Yin Mengran say this, Yuling Shua pursed her lips as if suppressing a laugh, and turned her face away, thinking to herself, Indeed, we know very few people, only one person, and that person is your mother, the chairman and president. After knowing this one person, isn't it easy to get to know anyone else? Don't worry, Wu Minghui patted her chest and said, Although I've only been here for a year, I have good connections in the technical department. If you want to make friends in the technical department, I can still help. But other departments... Wu Minghui smiled awkwardly. She only dared to say she could help in the technical department. She wasn't familiar with people from other departments. However, the technical department alone was a major part of Tianheng. Yuling Shua spoke. You look like someone with good connections too. You seem to have a good personality. You should be good at socializing. Then you'll be our connection in the technical department from now on. A faint smile played on Yin Mingran's lips. She squinted, and the more she looked at Wu Minghui, the more familiar she seemed, always feeling that this face resembled someone. While eating, Wu Minghui was very quiet, chewing without making sound. When she was alone earlier, she could relax a bit, eating while playing on her phone. But now, in front of others, she appeared very proper. In the end, she ate her plate clean, not leaving a single grain of rice, and then neatly arranged the soup bowl, chopsticks, and everything, and took them to the dishwashing station. Yin Mingran hadn't seen someone like this in a long time. The kind of person who, at first glance, was very well-mannered and understood propriety. After tidying up, Wu Minghui didn't leave, but stood at the cafeteria exit, playing with her phone, as if waiting for someone. Yin Mingran and Yuling Shua finished eating and were also preparing to leave. When they reached Wu Minghui, she quickly put down her phone, looked at them, and asked, Are you done eating? Yin Mingran and Yuling Shua glanced at each other and asked, Are you waiting for us? Yes, didn't you say you just arrived today? I can show you around. I have acquaintances in every department. Maybe I can help you. Yuling Shua paused, pointed to the place where they had just sat, and asked, Then why weren't you waiting for us there just now? Wu Minghui blinked and replied very seriously, You were still eating? If I sat there waiting for you, it would make you uncomfortable, right? I wanted you to eat slowly, no rush. Oh, Yin Mingran and Yuling Shua had a sudden realization. They hadn't expected this reasoning. They felt Wu Minghui might be overdoing it a bit, perhaps a bit too deliberate, but these were minor things and they didn't mind. All right then, please show us around. Yin Mingran nodded, accepting Wu Minghui's kind offer. For her, meeting someone like Wu Minghui right after arriving made her feel very favorable. If she had encountered bad people right away, she would have been quite distressed. The two followed behind Wu Minghui, walking within the company, occasionally chatting. They learned that Wu Minghui was only 2 years older than them, and had also come to work at Tianheng right after graduation from a rather outstanding, prestigious university. Wu Minghui didn't inquire about their identities because she could sense that some things shouldn't be asked. Your upbringing is really good. Your parents must be very good people too. Yin Mingran couldn't help but praise. This was her heartfelt compliment. Then Wu Minghui sighed and said somewhat helplessly, I can't help it. My mother is a teacher. She has strictly disciplined me since I was young, with many rules. She told me, when I'm alone, I can do whatever I want, but in front of outsiders, I must behave properly. Yin Mingran was somewhat surprised, suddenly understanding. Your mother is a teacher. No wonder. Then she must be a good teacher to raise a child like you. The student she teaches must also be excellent. Mentioning Wu Minghui's mother, her eyes filled with pride. She nodded and said, Yes, when I was little, I wanted to be a teacher like my mother. The classes she taught were almost always first in the grade. She's very famous in her high school as senior teacher. Yin Mingran and Yuling Shua suddenly stopped in their tracks, momentarily stunned. Wu Minghui also stopped, turned to look at them, and asked, What's wrong? Yin Mingran was stunned for a good while, then walked forward and asked, Your mother is a high school teacher? Where does she teach? Oh, not in Hujo. She's in the neighboring Hailing city. Our family is from there. What is your mother's surname? Juan. Yin Mingran took a step back, standing beside Yuling Shua. Both their faces showed expressions of disbelief. Yin Mingran also remembered now. No wonder Wu Minghui looked somewhat familiar, but she just couldn't recall. Now that it was mentioned, she immediately remembered. She looked like her high school homeroom teacher, Teacher Wang. She was actually Teacher Wang's daughter. What's wrong? You know my mother. Wu Minghui, seeing their reactions, felt something was not quite right and asked cautiously. Min Gran nodded silently. Her throat moved, and she replied softly, "Ah, yes, both of us were your mother's students." "Really?" Wu Minghuai's eyes suddenly widened, a flash of surprise in them, utterly shocked. She hadn't expected them to have such a connection. It's true. Teacher Wang was very, very good to me, gave me a lot of special care." Min Gran thought of high school, how both she and Zhou Heng had received special attention from Teacher Wang, especially herself. "Haha, that's good. Seeing my mother's students are so outstanding, I can rest assured. She will definitely be very happy when she finds out." A beautiful curve formed at the corners of Wu Menghuai's slightly pursed lips. When Min Gran saw it, she was stunned again. This smiling demeanor was exactly like Teacher Wang's. Min Gran also remembered, back then she had told Zhou Heng that they would definitely repay Teacher Wang in the future. Now, it seemed there was a chance. "Is my mom very strict? Is she fierce?" No. Teacher Wang is very gentle. At least to me. I was the class president back then." "Class president? Oh, you must be the student my mom often mentions." Wu Minghuai showed a surprised expression, pointing at Min Gran excitedly. "Me? Teacher Wang often mentions me." Min Gran pointed at herself and asked, somewhat surprised. She couldn't help but wonder how Teacher Wang mentioned her. Was it about her tragic experiences? "Yes, but she often mentioned you when she came home from work, saying that the little class president in her class was beautiful, smart, could get first place in the grade, was very well-behaved, and could handle everything well. She treated you like her own daughter." She hadn't expected Teacher Wang to talk about her like that at home. This was a bit too exaggerated. She wasn't that good. But indeed, back then, Teacher Wang really seemed to treat her like her own daughter. Teacher Wang exaggerated a bit. "I just did what I was supposed to do." "All right. She also said you had a boyfriend in class. Always inseparable." Cough. This time, Yuling Shua beside her couldn't hold it in and coughed, almost bursting out laughing. Mingran's face turned even redder. She and Zhou Heng seemed to have been overly intimate in high school, and Teacher Wang had seen it all. At that time, she had turned a blind eye and didn't interfere much. Thinking about it now, Teacher Wang must have shielded them from a lot of trouble. After a while, Wu Minghuai led the two of them to the technical department. As far as the eye could see, there were many people, many employees sitting at their desks busy with work, each with their own position. "This is my workstation." Wu Menghuai pointed to a cubicle. The desktop looked very clean, and things were placed in an orderly manner. This reminded Min Gran of Teacher Wang's desk, which was also like this. Just then, another girl walked in from outside and sat down at her own seat, the one next to Wu Menghuai. She had a sour face, the flesh on her face almost squeezing her features together. As soon as she sat down, the rolls of fat on her stomach were clearly visible. After sitting down, she glanced up at Wu Menghuai next to her. When she saw Min Gran and Yuling Shua, she paused for a moment, but the next second, a trace of annoyance appeared. "Wu Menghuai, help me with this, thanks." Then, she threw the document from her desk onto Wu Menghuai's desk. The faint thanks didn't sound like thanks at all, as if it were a matter of course. Min Gran and Yuling Shua, seeing this, instantly frowned, their expressions changing and becoming very unpleasant. Wu Menghuai just lowered her head, gently bit her lip, and then replied softly, "Oh, okay." Yuling Shua immediately pointed to the girl and asked Wu Menghuai, "What does she do? A leader? Why should she give you her work?" The girl heard this and looked up at Yuling Shua, glaring, and said unpleasantly, "Who are you? What do you do? What's it to you? Is it any of your business?" When she spoke, the flesh on her face trembled, and her tone was very unfriendly, completely like an unreasonable bully. Wu Menghuai said in a low voice beside them, "She's the team leader's niece. I don't dare to say anything, otherwise it'll be hard to get by in the unit." A troubled expression appeared on her face. Of course, she didn't want to be bullied like this, but what could she do? In this workplace, without connections or backing, what could one do when bullied by others? Mingran's brows furrowed tightly. She could see that this wasn't the first time this woman had done this. She was probably used to it. This kind of thing might be common in this company. Even if she wanted to intervene, she couldn't manage everything. But the person being bullied was her respected teacher's child. She had to intervene in this. Min Gran walked forward, picked up the documents that had been thrown on Wu Menghuai's desk, and threw them back onto the girl's desk, saying coldly, "Do your own work." "What the hell?" The woman, seeing this, her face instantly darkened. She looked up and stared fiercely at Min Gran. Her eyes were cold, and the twitching at the corner of her mouth revealed suppressed anger. "Who are you?" meddling in other people's business. The girl stood up directly, shouted, and questioned Gran. In an instant, the loud voice echoed throughout the quiet office. Everyone was startled and looked up towards them. Hey, Wu Minghui was a bit scared, feeling that things would escalate. She wanted to step forward and stop them, but she was pulled back by Yuling Shua. Yuling Shua had been standing behind Gran, staring deadly at the girl opposite them, with a ready-to-pounce posture. For a moment, whispers started in the office, discussing something. They were all familiar with that woman, but they didn't know Gran. Who is that girl? Is she new? She's quite pretty, has such good temperament, doesn't really look like she works here. She's unlucky to have provoked that landmine. She explodes at the slightest touch. The team leader will be called in a moment. Just as the people in the office started discussing, the girl directly yelled at the top of her lungs, Uncle, come quick. Someone is bullying me. This loud voice made even Gran opposite her cover her ears. The sound had hurt her ears. Who is it? Soon, a man's voice was heard, and then a man walked out from an office not far away. He looked like this girl's relative. Even their body types were the same, both pot-bellied, as if fat would jiggle out with every step. The man walked over to the girls. His head didn't even reach Ran's height. The girl, seeing the man walk over, instantly became even more arrogant, pointed at Gran, and shouted, She bullied me. Some random person. Gran turned her head, looked the man up and down, frowned, and questioned, You're the team leader? How do you manage this team? Not doing your own work, making others do it. What's the meaning of this? Do you think this is a place to keep idlers? It was the first time a man had encountered someone daring to speak to him like this. He was stunned for a moment, then waved his hand and shouted, Fuck you. Who the hell do you think you are, daring to meddle with me? Say that again. Yuling Shua, hearing the man's words, instantly became agitated. Her face darkened, and a chilling, indescribable fierceness appeared in her demeanor. She was about to rush forward. It was Gran who reached out and temporarily stopped Yuling Shua, signaling her not to be impulsive. Gran actually felt nothing in the face of such insults. Such arrogant and domineering people would eventually reap what they sowed. There was no need to get angry. At this moment, everyone in the office was captivated, all watching the commotion. This was practically the most interesting part of their dull work lives. I see you don't want to work here anymore, do you? Your actions, your attitude, are completely tarnishing Tianheng's image, bringing harm here. I can absolutely fire you, Gran said nonchalantly, crossing her arms, lifting her chin, her gaze calmly fixed on the man. For a moment, the office fell silent again. Almost everyone's jaw dropped in disbelief. What did they just hear? This young girl wanted to fire the team leader? Was this some kind of joke? This team leader had been working here for 5 or 6 years, doing very well, and had good relationships with the department head and deputy head of the technical department. Now, a strange young girl suddenly appears, and with a mere utterance, wants to fire this veteran employee? How is that possible? The man was even more stunned for a good while, suspecting he had misheard. He originally thought they were 2 troublemaking young girls. Looking at it now, they seemed a bit mentally unstable. Even the department head, whom he usually feared, wouldn't dare to say something like firing him. For this young girl to say such a thing, wasn't she afraid of being laughed at until her teeth fell out? Where did you come from, you psycho? Not from our team, are you? Which team are you from? Who's your team leader? The man didn't take Gran seriously at all, nor did he pay any attention to what she had just said, because to anyone, this was just nonsense, not worth minding. Gran didn't waste words and showed him her employee badge. The man stared at it. When he saw the words President's Assistant, he was very surprised. His mind started to race. What did this mean? The president has an assistant? How could that be? He had been working here for 4 or 5 years. The president only had 1 female secretary and no assistant. And even if there was one, how could it be such a young girl? This was too fake. Who would believe it? The people in the office saw the team leader staring at the badge for so long. They were also very curious, wanted to know what that young girl's identity was. After a while, the man, with a fierce scowl, slapped Ran's badge aside and berated, Get lost. You little brat, trying to fool me? You're still too green. Coming here to cause trouble, are you? Saying that, the man was about to reach out and push Gran. It didn't look like he was joking at all. He might very well push Gran down. Just then, Yuling Shua, who had been enduring, moved. She absolutely could not let Gran get hurt. Otherwise, it would be her dereliction of duty. In an instant, Yuling Shua directly grabbed the man's wrist. She timely prevented him from touching Gran. Even so, Gran was startled and took a step back. Luckily, Wu Minghuai promptly supported her, otherwise she would have bumped into the desk behind her. Yuling Shua's cold, moon-like eyes glinted with icy light. She held the man's wrist tightly, preventing him from moving, and said coldly, "You dare to lay a hand on her?" The man violently shook off Yuling Shua's hand and said, "Damn it. Who are you?" "She's the president's assistant." "So you're the president? Are you two playing house here?" His niece, the chubby girl, stood with her hands on her hips, her fat trembling, and shouted, "Uncle, stop wasting time with them. I get annoyed just looking at them. Just make them scram. To compensate for my injured feelings, it's perfectly reasonable for Wu Menghuai to do all my work, right?" Reasonable. Of course, it's reasonable. The duo's back and forth made everyone else show expressions of disgust. Yuling Shua didn't waste any more words with them, took out her phone, and muttered, "You just wait. Just the thought of laying a hand on her is enough to make you pay the price." She now just wanted to quickly call Lu Wei and tell her the situation here. Yin Mingran's condition was very special now, and Lu Wei was so protective. After this incident, the fate of these two was already sealed. "Hello, President Lu, are you free now?" "Yes, a situation has occurred. Yin Mingran is fine, but she was almost pushed over." The man heard Yuling Shua mention President Lu and sneered, thinking this young girl was still acting. Did she really think this would scare him? That would be underestimating him. He had seen too many people blustering and borrowing power. They couldn't fool him. After Yuling Shua hung up the phone, she came to Imingran's side, gently patting her back, and comforted, "It's okay, President Lu will be here soon." The man stepped forward again, threatening, "All right, stop pretending. Scram, or I really won't be polite." Seeing the man getting closer, Wu Menghuai quickly stepped forward, blocking Yin Mingran, and said, "Team leader, don't go too far. I'll do it. I'll do her work, okay? Don't touch my friend." "Right. I almost forgot to deal with you. You even know how to find someone to stand up for you, huh? Do you think I'm bullying you? Huh? Is that what you think?" The woman, seeing Wu Menghuai step forward, became even angrier, also stepped forward, pointed at Wu Menghuai, and shouted. Her voice was always very loud, as if she deliberately wanted the entire office to hear. Wu Menghuai was yelled at and lost some of her momentum. She had good connections in the technical department, except for this woman and the team leader. It felt like they were deliberately bullying her. Originally, that woman didn't sit next to her, but the team leader deliberately moved her next to her. Since then, she had used various excuses to make her help with her work. Later, she didn't even bother with excuses and just threw the work at her. But her uncle was the team leader. She didn't dare say anything. Rank has its privileges, crushing those below. Yin Mingran felt very uncomfortable seeing Wu Menghuai being bullied. Just as she was about to step forward, she heard many hurried footsteps approaching. Bang! In an instant, the office door was pushed open, and a group of security guards rushed in. Before anyone could react, Lu Wei walked out from behind them, her face cold, her sharp gaze sweeping around, and questioned, "Who bullied my daughter? Step forward." The sudden turn of events, so many security guards suddenly rushing in, startled everyone in the office. These guards weren't like the old men who watched community gates. They were all strong young men, well-trained, who stood ramrod straight on both sides after rushing in. And then, the imposing entrance of Lu Wei made everyone afraid to even breathe loudly. President Lu? Why is President Lu here? What's going on? This scene is a bit terrifying. The man and the girl were even more stunned, taking 2 steps back, their eyes instantly clearing. The arrogant demeanor from just moments ago vanished in an instant. The man realized something was wrong. Could it be that phone call just now was real, and the president's assistant was also real? Then why would it be this young girl? Who could have imagined that? No, the man suddenly thought, when Lu Wei came in just now, she seemed to have said, "Who bullied her daughter?" Her daughter? Who? These 2 girls in front of him. These 2 girls were President Lu's daughters? When Lu Wei reached the crowd, she first looked at Yin Mingran. She showed a worried expression, looking her up and down, checking if she had any problems. "Sweetheart, are you okay?" Lu Wei gently took Yin Mingran's arm and asked worriedly. "Mom, I'm fine. I didn't mean to cause trouble." But Yin Mingran really wanted to explain that she had just arrived and didn't intentionally cause trouble. But Wu Menghuai was her respected teacher's child, and she couldn't watch her be bullied. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to face Teacher Wang in the future. All right, it's good that you're fine. No need to say anything. It's okay, Mom is here." Lu Wei immediately hugged Yin Mingran, gently patting her back, and comforted her softly. When she received Yuling Shua's call just now, her heart had trembled slightly, afraid that something might happen to Yin Mingran, so she rushed over. She hadn't even clearly heard the reason, only that someone had almost pushed Min Gran over. Min Gran still felt a bit sorry towards Lu Wei, having just arrived and already causing trouble for her. Then Lu Wei turned around directly, her gaze fixed on a man in front of her. She narrowed her eyes, her pupils holding only an unfathomable darkness. Even without showing an angry expression, one could feel the overwhelming anger in her demeanor. The man, at this moment, had none of his earlier arrogance. Seeing Lu Wei, he was like a mouse seeing a cat, with a fawning expression. President Lu, your esteemed presence, may I ask?" Lu Wei glanced at the man, then at his niece beside him. It seemed she understood something. She pointed at Min Gran behind her and asked the man, You bullied her? Do you know who she is?" Lu Wei's voice was low, her tone laced with unconcealable anger, as if she was about to explode any second. The man now also realized that he seemed to have kicked an iron plate. How could he have known that these two young girls had such a powerful background? The man stammered, unable to answer, while the man's niece, the chubby girl, was now completely speechless, her body stiff. She could only hide behind the man, silent, as if the arrogant person just now wasn't her. At this moment, the most shocked person should be Wu Menghuai. She really hadn't expected Min Gran to be able to bring President Lu over. More importantly, President Lu had just called Min Gran daughter, meaning Min Gran's mother was President Lu? No wonder. She could become the president's assistant at such a young age. Sure enough, there were special connections. President Lu, please let me explain. Things are not as you think." The man was still making feeble explanations, though it seemed he had no reasonable excuse. Yuling Shua pointed at the man, frowning, and questioned, "What's there to explain? You were spewing profanities just now, as nasty as they come." Then, Yuling Shua recounted the whole incident to Lu Wei. Lu Wei had initially thought Min Gran had a conflict with others, but after hearing Yuling Shua's account, she found that Min Gran was not at fault at all. It was entirely this team leader's responsibility. Min Gran had only done what she should have done, all for the good of Tianheng, but this team leader was too arrogant and wouldn't listen to reason, which led to the subsequent outcome. After hearing the cause and effect, Lu Wei became even more furious. She hadn't expected Tianheng to have such people. Were they treating her place as their playground for misdeeds? Moreover, they had bullied a pregnant Min Gran, which made her even more intolerant. "You two are fired and can never enter Tianheng again. Get out now." Lu Wei's voice was cold and imposing, instantly cowing the two people in front of her. They stared wide-eyed, faces full of horror. After a few seconds, when they came to their senses, the man immediately said, President Lu, don't. It has nothing to do with me. It's all her. She provoked your daughter. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have made a mistake. It's not my fault." The man pointed at his niece behind him, completely shifting the blame to her. The girl was dumbfounded, her face full of disbelief. Then, she looked at the man and cursed. "All right, you damn bastard, I'll fing." These two spoke, one nastier than the other, and their voices were loud. Everyone present frowned upon hearing it. Min Gran especially didn't want to hear this foul language, wanted to cover her ears and her belly at the same time. She didn't know if hearing such words now would affect the baby in the future. Lu Wei simply waved her hand. The security guards beside her instantly rushed forward, grabbed the two of them, and were about to drag them away. These two no longer cared about losing face. As they were being dragged out by the security guards, they were still cursing at each other. After they were taken away, the office finally returned to tranquility. The others still didn't dare to speak, lowered their heads, and started working, not daring to look up at Lu Wei's side. They just wanted to watch the excitement, not get caught in the crossfire. With just one sentence, she fired a veteran employee of 4 or 5 years, with no room for discussion, let alone them, the ordinary employees. Lu Wei scanned the others in the office, then said loudly, "Get the department head here for me." At this moment, the head of the technology department was still in his office taking a lunch break, fast asleep, until someone rushed in, woke him up, and told him what had just happened. In an instant, he felt like his world had collapsed. Scrambling, half-crawling, he rushed out of his office and arrived at the office area where the accident had just occurred. Seeing Lu Wei standing there with her arms crossed and brows tightly furrowed, he instantly felt a shiver run down his spine. This was bad. The department head, drenched in sweat, trotted over to Lu Wei, bowed, and said obsequiously, "President Lu, you called for me." His heart was still filled with fear, terrified that he would be punished. It wasn't the first time that team leader had been publicly condemned, but because he had offered tributes multiple times in this workplace, the director had accepted benefits and had no choice but to turn a blind eye. He had also frequently warned him to be a bit more restrained, even within his own team, because if he was too arrogant, he might crash and burn someday. He hadn't expected this day to come so quickly. A crash was a crash, but it had also implicated him. He originally thought that if the team leader crashed, it would be like being hit by a large truck at most. He hadn't expected this guy to be so capable as to crash into an aircraft carrier. "Do you know why I called you here?" Lu Wei's calm words sounded like a clap of thunder in the department head's ears. Of course, he knew why she had called him, and he also knew what he was about to face. I know. Rest assured, this incident has taught me a very profound lesson, and it's also a warning I will never forget in my life. I will definitely reflect on this painful experience and make thorough rectifications. I will never let such a parasite appear in our department again. President Liu, please give me a chance to correct my mistakes. The department head spoke very sincerely, without any attempt to argue or explain. He generously admitted his mistake and proposed a plan for improvement. Because he knew that arguing now was useless, it was better to honestly admit his mistake. Just this point alone made him much better than that team leader. Lu Wei asked faintly, "You accepted benefits from that person, didn't you? He surely hasn't been doing this for just a day or two. Did you never discover it? In that case, I don't think you need to continue as department head." The department head hadn't expected to be completely seen through by Lu Wei. What he was facing now was a particularly critical situation. If he didn't handle it well, he would end up just like that team leader. In this situation, there was only one way. "President Liu, you are right. I have failed to live up to your expectations. I voluntarily requested a motion to yield the position of department head to someone more capable. Please approve my request." The department head lowered his head and said earnestly. Although he appeared serious and decisive on the surface, his heart was actually bleeding. How many years had he struggled to reach the position of department head? That damn guy had ruined him in just one day. If he hadn't said this, hadn't made this choice, he would likely face even more severe punishment. Bribery was not a simple matter. All he could do now was sacrifice the chariot to save the king. As long as the green hills remain, there'll be no shortage of firewood. Since you've said so, let's do as you say. Lu Wei nodded. Although this wasn't the most satisfactory solution, in front of so many people, she couldn't be too aggressive. As a leader, magnanimity was a necessary quality. He had already spoken to this extent. She had no reason to refuse. Wu Minghui was particularly happy at this moment, but didn't dare to show it, as it would make her seem a bit like she was gloating, which wasn't good. But she was genuinely happy. The person who had bullied her for so long was finally fired. No one should bully her in the future. Work should become wonderful. Finally, she wouldn't have to swallow her anger anymore. Beside her, Emin Gran saw her secretly happy look and felt a bit uncomfortable, thinking she must have suffered a lot of grievances. Then, Emin Gran called out to Lu Wei and said softly, "Mom, I have something I want to tell you." "What is it, sweetie? Go ahead and say it." "This is the daughter of Mai and Zhou Heng's high school homeroom teacher. We receive a lot of care from her back then." Emin Gran told Lu Wei how teacher Wang had taken care of her and Zhou Heng in high school. Afterward, she also whispered something to her, her eyes filled with a plea. After Lu Wei listened, she nodded without any hesitation and agreed. "Of course, no problem." Then, Lu Wei looked at Wu Minghui, smiled slightly at her, and beckoned her over. Wu Minghui was a bit surprised, pointed at herself with a look of disbelief, then quickly walked over and greeted, "President Liu." Child, my daughter said that your team now has a vacancy for a team leader, and she wants you to be the team leader. Are you willing?" Upon hearing this, Wu Menghui's eyes widened in astonishment. She looked at Emin Gran, her eyes full of disbelief. Why would Emin Gran recommend her to be the team leader? The previous team leader had worked for 4 or 5 years to get that position. She had only worked for a year. Whether in terms of seniority or ability, she wasn't qualified. Emin Gran seemed to have seen through Wu Menghui's concerns and said, "Sometimes seniority doesn't determine everything. Character is also very important. I think entrusting it to you will definitely be fine." Emin Gran truly believed that Wu Menghui had this ability. Even though she hadn't known her for long, she could sense how good her character was. Most importantly, she wanted to do as much as possible for Wu Menghui. Thinking of teacher Wang's blatant favoritism back then, she was endlessly grateful. So now, she also wanted to blatantly favor Wu Menghui. Then, Hearing Ming Gran say this, Wu Minghui had no reason to refuse. Being a team leader was, of course, a good thing. The responsibility wasn't too great, and it was a minor leadership position. She had only worked for a year and encountered such a good thing. If she told anyone, they probably wouldn't believe it. She knew very well that she was benefiting from her mother's light. It seemed that being sincere and kind to others really does pay off. You never know when that reward will come. Okay, then I'll give it a try. I will work hard. If after some time I find I'm not up to the job, I'll hand it over to someone more suitable than me. One day, Yuling Shua was busy with work in her office. After a while, the door opened. Yuling Shua looked up and saw Ming Gran walk in. She looked very happy, smiling broadly. Seeing this, Yuling Shua smiled slightly and said, "Good morning. You look so happy. Did you have a good time yesterday?" Ming Gran sat down in her seat, shook her head, and said, "Of course, my husband came to see me. Where is he now? He went back to work. He probably won't be able to come for a few days next time. All right. He really isn't afraid of the trouble. We've only been here for about half a month, right? Has he come to see you 3 or 4 times already? On average, once every 4 or 5 days. I've told him not to go to so much trouble, but he doesn't listen." "That's true. Boss Joe is just that kind of person, huh?" The two chatted and laughed happily. They had been at Tianheng for nearly half a month and were gradually adapting to work. Ming Gran didn't feel anxious about being separated from her beloved because Zhou Hong would come to see her every few days. Before she even had time to miss him, Zhou Hong would already be in front of her. Although he could only stay for an afternoon or an evening each time and had to go back the next day. After all, his work over there was also very busy, and he couldn't be away for too long, otherwise it would be a bit unreasonable. Yuling Shua stretched, stood up, and said, "I'm going to get a cup of coffee. I'll bring you a glass of milk, okay?" "Okay, thank you. You're welcome." Yuling Shua left the office, planning to get a cup of coffee and prepare a glass of milk for Ming Gran. During this half-month, she had taken very good care of Ming Gran. It was clearly still early pregnancy, but she was being cared for as if she were about to give birth. Yuling Shua hummed as she made coffee. Suddenly, she received a phone call. She was a bit surprised, wondering who would be calling her at this time. She was a bit traumatized now. Every time the phone rang, she was afraid it was her father calling. But when she took out her phone and glanced at it, she couldn't help but frown. This number, she hadn't dialed it much. It was actually her Uncle Lee, the husband her mother had remarried. "Hello, Uncle Lee? Why are you calling me?" Yuling Shua couldn't help but have a bad feeling. She always felt this sudden phone call wasn't a good thing. Sure enough, in the next second, old Lee's anxious voice came from the other end of the phone. "Little Shua. Your mother, she. What's wrong with my mother?" Hearing about her mother, Yuling Shua's heart rate rapidly increased. That ominous premonition in her heart grew stronger and stronger. "Your mother's in the hospital." Clack! In an instant, the cup in Yuling Shua's hand slipped and fell to the ground, coffee spilling everywhere. Her eyes also widened, her expression froze, and her heart seemed to stop at that moment. Then, Yuling Shua didn't even ask why she was in the hospital, just inquired which hospital it was. Afterward, she hurried back to the office. Ran. Yuling Shua pushed open the office door, looking extremely anxious. Ming Gran looked up, puzzled, at Yuling Shua, wondering what was wrong with her. Yuling Shua came to Ming Gran and said, Ran, my mother is in the hospital. I need to go see her, so I need to take leave." She had come back here to ask Ming Gran for leave. After all, she was still at work and couldn't just leave without a word. Ming Gran was stunned for a moment, then nodded quickly, saying, Then, do you want to go with you?" "It's okay, I'll go by myself. I don't know the reason yet, but Uncle Lee just called me, and he sounded very anxious. I have to go quickly." Yuling Shua didn't want to trouble Ming Gran. She just wanted to get to that hospital as soon as possible. "Okay, you go quickly. Don't worry about here." Yuling Shua left the company and quickly headed to that hospital. However, the hospital was not in Hujo, so no matter how fast she went, it would take more than 2 hours. Yuling Shua took a taxi directly. After about 2 hours, she arrived at her destination. Then, Yuling Shua ran straight in, called Old Lee, found out the location, and went to the emergency room. At the entrance of the emergency room, she saw Old Lee pacing back and forth, anxiously pulling his hair. "Uncle Lee, hey, little Shua, you're finally here." Seeing Yuling Shua arrive, a glimmer of hope instantly burst forth in Old Lee's eyes, and he hurried to meet her. "What exactly happened to Mom?" This. I don't know what happened to either. Last night, she said she had a headache, then a fever. I thought it was a cold and gave her fever-reducing medicine, but the high fever didn't go down. It went above 40 degrees, her head hurt, all her joints ached, and she even developed a rash. The fever didn't subside all night, so I brought her to the hospital early this morning. The doctor examined her and said it seems to be a virus infection after being bitten by a poisonous insect. She needs surgery immediately. It seems like they need to operate. Otherwise, her life will be in danger. Then do it quickly. Has she had the surgery or not? I told the doctor, can we do the surgery first and pay later? I'll go borrow money. They didn't agree. I heard the surgery is quite major because it's unclear where the infection is, and the surgical fee is very expensive. I took out all our family savings, but it's not enough. When Old Lee spoke, his tone revealed helplessness. Listening to him, it was easy to feel how desperate he must have been at that moment. His loved one's life was in danger, but he could do nothing. He had worn out his phone trying to borrow money, but he couldn't borrow that much in such a short time. He was just an elementary school teacher and didn't have many savings. Helpless, he could only turn to Yuling for help, because he knew that Yuling had a very rich father. Yuling understood what was happening now. Surgery was needed, but there wasn't enough money. Her mother and Uncle Lee couldn't afford that much. They could only ask her for help. If it were before, she could have taken out hundreds of thousands without a second thought. It would have been nothing. But now, since she had broken off with her father, her bank cards had been frozen, and he no longer gave her money. Now, she simply couldn't come up with that much money. Little Shua, you have to help. She's your biological mother. Seeing Yuling troubled expression, Old Lee thought she didn't want to help and immediately pleaded pitifully. I know, Uncle Lee, don't worry. I won't ignore it. Where's my mother now? Under Old Lee's guidance, Yuling went to see her mother. When she saw her mother lying on the operating table, she gasped, her eyes wide, and covered her mouth. Her mother was lying there, eyes tightly closed, several parts of her body bruised purple. Her face was swollen and ulcerated. It looked very serious. She could barely breathe, even with external assistance. Little Shua, Uncle Lee is begging you. You must help. Old Lee clasped his hands together, begging bitterly, almost ready to kneel down to Yuling. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't come up with that much money, he wouldn't have asked Yuling for help, because he knew that Yuling money all came from her wealthy father. He didn't want to spend that man's money, but there was no other way now. What were face and dignity in the face of a loved one's life? Yuling head was about to explode. She definitely couldn't come up with this much money herself. She had to ask someone else for help. Who could she ask? Gran? Zhou Baitsong? How could she possibly bring herself to ask them? They were all her good friends. Now she had to borrow so much money from them. She couldn't do it. It would also burden them. And how could she repay such a huge favor? At this point, she could only bear it all herself. She could only ask that person for help. If that person didn't help, then as a last resort, she would ask her friends. Uncle Lee, wait a moment. I'll go make a call. Okay. Hurry up, little Shua. Your mother's situation is very critical. Yuling quickly left the emergency room, went outside, took out her phone, and dialed the number she hadn't called for nearly half a month. The phone rang a few times before it was answered. Hello. Dad, it's me. The call Yuling made was to Yuling. Her first choice was definitely to bow her head, silently endure everything, and ask Yuling for help. I know it's you. What is it? If it's nothing, hang up. I'm busy. Yuling tone was very cold, as if he wasn't talking to his daughter, but to an unfamiliar stranger. Don't. I have something urgent. That. The words Yuling wanted to say seemed to be stuck in her throat, choked, and difficult to get out. But in an instant, the miserable state of her mother just now flashed in her mind. She had to say it. Dad, my mother is seriously ill and hospitalized. She needs surgery now, but there's not enough money. So could you please? Dream on. When I needed you, you betrayed me without a second thought. Now that you need me, you have a nerve to come back. Yuling bit her lip hard until blood appeared. Please, Dad, as long as you're willing to help, I'll do anything. Hearing Yuling words, the other end of the phone fell silent for a long while. Anything? Yes, as long as it's not something heinous like murder, arson, or illegal criminal activities. Anything. That won't happen. I'm your biological father, after all. How could I ask you to commit murder or arson? I do have one condition. If you agree, you can immediately send your mother to our family's hospital, and I'll have the best doctors operate on her. Go on. Hearing there was a chance, Yuling let Yuling continue to hear what his condition was. Well, you're not young anymore. It's time for you to get married. I've found a good match for you. The son of the chairman of Dongzhu Lingwen Group. You go on a blind date with him, then get married. If you agree, I'll help. If not, then forget it. Blind date. Get married? Hearing this, Yuling Shua's eyes widened, her face full of shock, a terrified reaction. She wasn't stupid. She knew very well what this meant. She was to be sacrificed for a business alliance. This was very much like this guy's style, using this method to strengthen his own power. She was just a pawn and a tool in his hands, sacrificing herself to establish a relationship with Dongzhu Lingwen Group. It's not something heinous, murder, arson, or illegal, right? Do you agree? As long as you agree, I'll immediately send an ambulance to pick up your mother. TSK. Yuling Shue gritted her teeth, frowning. It was as if she had been pushed to the edge of a cliff. A step back was the abyss, a step forward was a knife. It was a dilemma, a choice she had to make. But, indeed, sacrificing herself could save her mother. It was quite a bargain. She just had to marry someone she didn't like. Anyway, it was just a blind date, right? He might not even like her. Dongzhu Lingwen Group, although definitely not as powerful as Juanheng, still held a significant position in Dongzhu. The chairman's son was born with a silver spoon. Her status wasn't exactly a match for his. Maybe he wouldn't even be interested in her, and the whole thing would fall through. The most important thing now was to save her mother, so she had to agree first. Okay, I agree. Please hurry and get my mother for surgery. No problem. After getting Yuling Shue's reply, he hung up the phone. Yuling Shue also hurried back to the hospital. When Old Li saw Yuling Shue return, it was like seeing a lifeline. He immediately walked over and asked eagerly, "How is it?" "Don't worry, Uncle Li, I've handled everything. An ambulance will be here soon to transfer us to my father's hospital. The best doctors will operate on my mother. It's okay now." "Oh, that's great. That's great. Heaven has eyes." Old Li smiled, raising his hands as if thanking a higher power. Hearing this good news truly lifted a great weight from his heart. "I didn't expect your father to be such a good person, willing to help. I always thought he wasn't a good person. It seems I misunderstood him." Yuling Shue lowered her head, didn't explain, her expression dim, and nodded silently, whispering weakly, Whatever." Soon, the ambulance arrived and transported Yuling Shue's mother to the Yu family's hospital in Dongzhu City. Yuling Shue and Old Li could only wait anxiously outside the operating room, pacing back and forth on pins and needles, praying hundreds of times in their hearts. Yuling Shue's mind was a complete mess. She was worried about her mother's condition on one hand, and, on the other, she was troubled by the matter she had promised her father. There was no other way. She was desperate to save her mother. At this moment, she couldn't consider much else, nor did she care about herself. Old Li was already in a zombie-like state, sitting motionless, his spirit scattered. He was on the verge of a mental breakdown. Any more bad news now could easily shatter his body and mind. Click! Just then, the operating room door suddenly opened. This single sound made both of them tremble uncontrollably, their heartbeats involuntarily accelerating, extremely terrified. They saw the surgeon walk out, his face troubled, looking at them as he removed his mask. "How is it, doctor? Is my wife okay?" Old Li used his last bit of strength to stand up and anxiously asked the doctor. Yuling Shue didn't walk over, just stood where she was because she no longer had the courage to go over. Her legs were weak. The doctor sighed and said, "We found the source of the ulceration and infection in her lower leg. But the bad news is it can't be treated anymore. The cells are completely necrotic. If we want to save her life now, we must amputate." Amputate. Old Li's body instantly stiffened. He uncontrollably took 2 steps back, almost falling over. Amputation meant she would be disabled in the future, right? Missing a leg, unable to walk normally, unable to take care of herself. Yuling Shue took a deep breath, not showing excessive despair, stepped forward and said, "Okay, doctor, then please perform the surgery as soon as possible. You must save my mother's life." "Yes, you can rest assured about that. Once the surgery is done and she's treated, her life will no longer be in danger." The doctor nodded, turned, and went back into the operating room. The light in the operating room also came on. Old Li turned his head, looked at Yuling Shue, his face full of despair and weariness, as if he had aged decades. In one night, much of his hair had turned white, his head almost entirely silver. Yuling Shue looked at Old Li and said faintly, "Uncle Li, amputation is amputation. We must save my mother's life. Even if she's amputated, she could get a prosthetic leg later. Even if not, I will take care of my mother for the rest of her life. So please don't worry." Old Li also knew Yuling Shue was right. Amputation was much better than losing her life. It was just losing a leg. If not amputated, it would be a dead end. Knowing that her mother would no longer be in mortal danger after the surgery, Yuling Shua could finally breathe a temporary sigh of relief. Otherwise, her nerves had been constantly tense, and she hadn't even dared to breathe deeply. Time passed bit by bit, and Oldly slowly recovered. His face was now pale, his eyes bloodshot. Yuling Shua told him to go rest for a while, that she could manage here alone, but Oldly refused. He couldn't sleep until he knew his wife was okay. Buzz. Just then, Yuling Shua also received a call. It was from Mingran. Hello, Ran. How is it? Is Annie okay? Yes, she's fine. She's undergoing surgery now. After the surgery, she'll be out of danger. Sorry to make you worry. It's okay. That's good. Don't rush back. Take good care of Annie. Do you need my help? No need. I can handle everything. No need to trouble you. Then, I'll take a few more days off for now. You take care of yourself. Be safe. Don't worry about me. Taking care of Annie is the most important thing. If anything happens, call me. Don't be afraid to trouble me or anything, and don't keep it from me, okay? I know. I've already handled it. Yuling Shua forced a smile and nodded, even though Mingran couldn't see it at all. After hanging up the phone, Yuling Shua suddenly felt her vision go black, dizzy. Her body stumbled, about to fall. Hey, little Shua, what's wrong with you? Seeing Yuling Shua like this, Oldly immediately stood up and ran over. Fortunately, before Yuling Shua fainted, she managed to grab onto the nearby railing, preventing herself from falling. It's nothing. Yuling Shua waved her hand, forcing herself to sit on a nearby chair. I probably have a bit of low blood sugar. It's nothing, don't worry. I'll be fine after a little rest. She lowered her head, unable to keep her eyes open. Her head was spinning, and she was starting to feel numb. It was already afternoon. She hadn't eaten all day, had been constantly on edge, and had so many worries, and had also sacrificed herself. She felt a bit too tired. Her mental state was overloaded, and she felt like she was about to faint. Looking at Yuling Shua like this, Oldly also felt a bit distressed and said, Little Shua, you go back and rest. I'll wait here. He felt so useless, an adult man needing a child to help, busy with everything. He was no match for her biological father, with all that money. He felt extremely guilty, so he had never considered himself Yuling Shua's stepfather, because he felt he wasn't qualified to be her father. It's okay, Uncle Lee. I'll be fine after a little rest, really. Yuling Shua held her forehead and waved her hand. She felt her temples throbbing. Another hour or so passed, and the light in the operating room suddenly went out. Yuling Shua looked up. Seeing it, her pupils constricted. She held onto the railing, slowly stood up, and walked towards the operating room. Oldie was already waiting there, extremely anxious. The operating room door opened, and the doctor walked out, his clothes, gloves, and mask all stained with dry blood. Doctor, how is my mother? She's fine, no longer in mortal danger. But her body needs to recover slowly. Go handle the hospitalization first. She'll need to stay for at least half a year. Okay, I'll go right away. Hearing that her mother was okay, Yuling Shua finally let the great weight in her heart fall, and her spirit relaxed a bit. Subsequently, Yuling Shua completed the hospitalization procedures, the best room, the best equipment. After all, her status was there, so there was no need to worry about money. In the evening, Yuling Shua's mother slowly opened her eyes. The pain and torment had slowed her reactions. She hadn't fully recovered yet, feeling numb all over, her mind in a daze. She stared at the ceiling for a long time before her consciousness gradually returned. Mom! At this moment, she heard a voice. When she looked over, she saw her most beloved daughter, whom she thought about day and night. Yuling Shua stood by her side, her face etched with fatigue, her hair messy. At this moment, Yuling Shua's mother seemed to understand what had happened. Those missing memories, she could guess without thinking. Shua! She struggled to lift her hand, looked at Yuling Shua, her voice squeezed from her throat. Yuling Shua sat down and held her mother's hand. Mom, I'm sorry. What nonsense are you talking about? Don't talk, rest well. Yuling Shua helped her mother adjust the blanket, stood up, and when she looked at her lower body, she saw the part not covered by the blanket. A leg was missing. At that moment, her heart felt like it was being wrenched, extremely painful. Yuling Shua's mother turned her head to the side and saw Oldly sitting asleep on the sofa nearby. Just looking at him, she could tell how tired he was. He had reached his limit both physically and mentally. Sigh. She couldn't say anything, just sighed. She only had one thought in her mind now. Why hadn't she just died? Being alive would only cause trouble for her husband and daughter, making them worry. Her ex-husband had disliked her for being useless, too ordinary, and divorced her after she gave birth to their daughter. Her current husband was very good to her, not caring at all that she was just an ordinary, common person. But, as a wife, as a mother, She didn't want to be so useless, only bringing trouble to her family. At least, when her child encountered difficulties, the first person she would think of was definitely her father, not her, this mother. At this moment, Yuling Shua seemed to have seen through her mother's thoughts. She sat down beside her, gently holding her hand, and said, "All right, what are you thinking about? Rest well and recover. I have some good news for you." Yuling Shua's mother looked at her, not knowing what good news she was about to share. Yuling Shua suddenly pursed her lips, her nose tingled, and it felt like tears were welling up in her eyes. But in the next second, she held them back, forced a smile, and said, "I have someone I like. Maybe. I'm getting married soon. Ha! Aren't you happy?" Her words were filled with helplessness, full of lies, but also the truth. Yuling Shua's mother stared into her eyes, silent, without any reaction even after hearing Yuling Shua say this. In the next second, she suddenly opened her mouth and said softly, "If you're wronged outside, just come home." In an instant, the most fragile part of Yuling Shua's heart felt like it had been fiercely pricked by a needle. Yes, what lies was she telling? How could a mother not see through her daughter's lies? A mother doesn't understand why her daughter is lying, but she knows there must be a reason. All a mother can do is be her daughter's strongest support, silently guarding her from behind. "Huh, Mom, what are you talking about, really? What grievances could I suffer? All right, I'll go get something to eat. We haven't eaten all day." Yuling Shua's voice suddenly trembled slightly, as if she was trying hard to maintain her tone. After saying that, Yuling Shua stood up and walked towards the door, seemingly very calm. But the moment she walked out of the ward, she couldn't hold it in anymore. Her dark eyes welled up with tears, her heart felt like it was being stabbed, a wave of heat surged, and her eyes were immediately covered by a misty film. Tears streamed down her cheeks. If only she were still young, if only she were still a child who needed to rely on adults, then she would definitely have a good cry in front of her mother, telling her how wronged and tired she was. But she was no longer a child. Crying now would only make her mother worry, get upset, and fret over her. However, she was, after all, still a young girl, not indestructible. She also needed to vent her emotions properly. Yuling Shua went outside the hospital, thinking of buying something to take back, but as she walked, tears unknowingly flowed. Uncontrollably. Her future was still unpredictable. She had no idea what awaited her. Perhaps it was an abyss of eternal damnation. Finally, Yuling Shua couldn't hold back her emotions anymore. She sat down on a nearby bench, lifted her legs, buried her head, and sobbed quietly. Just for a little while, just let her cry for this little while. After she had vented her emotions, she would go back as if nothing had happened, shoulder the family's responsibilities, take good care of her mother, and bear everything. Sobi. Plop. Just then, she felt someone sit down beside her. In this dimly lit place by the streetlights, someone suddenly sitting next to her startled Yuling Shua. She abruptly looked up. She saw a man sitting next to her, hands in his pockets, looking straight ahead, his face calm. Yuling Shua saw this man, frowned slightly, narrowed her eyes, and whispered, "What are you doing here?" "Checking on you. Min Gran asked me to come. She knows you're in Dongju." The man before her, Yuling Shua was all too familiar with. The man who was both her rival and friend, Baitsong. Yuling Shua hadn't expected Min Gran to call Baitsong. Thinking about it, it made sense. She was worried about her situation, but she couldn't come herself. In Dongju, Zhou Heng and Tang Jits didn't have time. Only Baitsong, this idler, was free. "I'm fine. Don't come here to laugh at me." Yuling Shua lowered her head, wiped away her tears, and muttered softly. Just then, Baitsong's hand reached out. Yuling Shua looked up and saw him offering a handkerchief. Baitsong gently shook his head and said faintly, "I would never laugh at you." Yuling Shua pursed her lips, staring at the handkerchief Baitsong offered for a long time. Then, she took it and wiped her tears. "Don't tell anyone what you saw today. You hear me." All right. Baitsong shrugged helplessly and leaned back on the bench. He watched Yuling Shua wipe away her tears and said faintly, "Need help?" "No." Yuling Shua answered without hesitation. She didn't need to rely on others. She could solve all this herself. Besides, even if she had to rely on someone, it couldn't be Baitsong. Her relationship with Baitsong was like that of adversaries. No matter how miserable she was, she couldn't possibly ask him for help. "Okay, then, suit yourself." Baitsong waved his hand and replied nonchalantly. Then, as if Yuling Shua had thought of something, she hesitated for a few seconds before slowly asking, "That? The son of the chairman of Dongju Lingwen Group. Do you know him?" Baitsong was taken aback, frowned, and thought for a moment. He didn't immediately answer Yuling Shua's question, but asked in return, "Why are you asking about him? It's none of your business. If you know him, just tell me." Yuling Shua shook her head. She had no intention of telling Bai Song about it. He would definitely look down on her. I do know him, but he's not a good person. Eating, drinking, whoring, gambling, smoking. He doesn't miss out on any of them. He might even have a criminal record, but it's all been suppressed. Heh, I thought so. Yuling Shua sneered. She hadn't harbored any expectations for this person. She had guessed as much. Not a good person, a profligate son of a rich family. Her only hope then was that he wouldn't take a liking to her, and then she could completely escape. She had only agreed to go on that blind date, not that she had to get married or anything. Yuling Shua exhaled a breath of stale air, as if expelling all her fatigue and worries, her expression returning to normal. She stood up, handed the handkerchief to Bai Song, and said, "Here you go. I'm going back to take care of my mother. Tell Ranran I'm fine, not to worry." Bai Song glanced down at the handkerchief, smiled faintly, and said, "It's all your tears. You should at least wash it clean before returning it to me, right? You don't want it, huh? Fine, don't take it then." Yuling Shua rolled her eyes at him, stuffed the handkerchief in her pocket, and then turned and left. Bai Song watched Yuling Shua's retreating figure grow smaller and smaller in the distance, then called out, "If you need my help, just ask." I said I don't need it. Yuling Shua raised her hand in a gesture of goodbye, and then disappeared into the dark street. TCH, Bai Song snorted, crossed his legs, shrugged, and showed a helpless expression. In-Min Gran never contacts boys. Don't you even know that? And you call yourself her best friend. As he spoke, Bai Song suddenly took a letter out of his pocket. If I hadn't intercepted this love letter halfway, how would I have known what you're going through right now? Bai Song looked down at the love letter, then crumpled it into a ball, threw into a nearby trash can, and muttered, "Dongzhu Lingwen." All right then. A few days later, Tianheng, Hujo, In-Min Gran woke up early for work, as usual. These past few days, she had been alone. Yuling Shua was still in Dongzhu, taking care of her mother, and hadn't returned. In-Min Gran sat at her chair, propping her chin with her hand, and muttered, "I wonder how Yuling Shua is doing over there." Although she had frequently called Yuling Shua these past few days to ask about her condition, Yuling Shua always said everything was fine. Knowing Yuling Shua, even if something was wrong, she wouldn't tell her. So In-Min Gran was very worried now, afraid that Yuling Shua might be in some trouble. Knock, knock. Just then, In-Min Gran heard a knock on the office door. It pulled her back from her thoughts. She looked towards the door, paused for a moment, and said softly, "Come in." Then, the office door slowly opened. While In-Min Gran was still wondering, a head poked in from outside, looking into the office. "Hello." When In-Min Gran saw the head poking in, her expression immediately lit up with pleasant surprise. "Hey, Tang Ji, why are you here?" The visitor was Tang Ji. Seeing Tang Ji appear, In-Min Gran immediately stood up from her chair, went around the desk, and headed straight for Tang Ji. Tang Ji opened the door, walked in, and smiled. "I came to see you. I'm off today, nothing to do, so I came here to hang out with you. You're not disappointed? It's not Zhou Heng, are you?" "Of course not. I'm very happy you came to see me." In-Min Gran laughed, grabbed Tang Ji's wrist, and said happily. Previously, it had always been Zhou Heng alone who came to see her. The last time she saw Tang Ji was the day they arrived at Tianheng, which was almost a month ago. "Huh, where's Yuling Shua?" Tang Ji glanced around, but didn't see any sign of Yuling Shua. It felt a bit strange. Normally, shouldn't Yuling Shua be by In-Min Ran's side taking care of her? Mentioning Yuling Shua, In-Min Ran's face clouded over, and she said sigh. "A few days ago, Yuling Shua's mother was hospitalized. Now, she's at the hospital taking care of her mother." "Hospitalized? Oh, I see. I didn't even know. She didn't tell us. Then I'll go visit her on my way back." "Yes, she probably didn't tell you because she didn't want you to worry, so I didn't say anything either." In-Min Gran nodded. She knew Yuling Shua didn't want her to tell others, so only she knew about this matter. Then the two sat down. Tang Ji looked at In-Min Gran and asked, "How is it? How's Tianheng? Are you comfortable here?" In-Min Ran's face immediately lit up with a smile. She nodded and said, "Of course it's comfortable. It's like my own home here. I can do whatever I want, and the work isn't tiring. Mom takes special care of me, doesn't let me work for too long, and comes to tell me to rest when it's about time." Tang Ji chimed in, saying, "There's just one drawback. No Zhou Heng, right?" "Ha ha. Yeah. You're asking even though you know." In-Min Gran laughed and gently patted Tang Ji's leg, not denying the statement. The two chatted for a few more sentences. Then, Tang Ji pointed outside and said, "Hey, perfect timing. Take me on a tour of Tianheng. I haven't had a good look around here yet." "Okay." Mom said I should inspect the various departments when I have time recently, and she wants me to inspect them once every month from now on. I was originally planning to go with Yuling Shua after she came back. Since you're here, you can accompany me. Min Gran stood up, took Tang Ji's arm, and said with a smile. Tang Ji also stood up, a slight smile playing on her lips, and replied, Okay, then I'll take Zhou Heng's place and look after you for a day. The two of them walked out of the office together, ready to wander around, chatting and laughing as they went. Hello, Assistant In. Hello. Along the way, many people who knew Min Gran greeted her respectfully, and Min Gran would smile in response. She had been at Tianheng for almost a month, and many people recognized her, though only a small portion knew about her relationship with Lu Wei. The two of them visited various departments, simultaneously inspecting their work. When the head of each department learned of Ran's arrival, they would also immediately come out to greet her and report on the situation. Not bad, Ran. You have more leadership qualities than Zhou Hong. Tang Ji saw that Min Gran seemed like a completely different person when she was working, very serious and professional. When visiting each department, if there were areas that needed improvement, she would offer suggestions. Oh no, not really. I just learned by following Mom, like a cat drawing a tiger. When she first arrived, Min Gran had always followed Lu Wei, learning how to do things. However, Min Gran was also very smart. In just a few days, she understood Lu Wei's working style, so Lu Wei directly arranged separate offices for Min Gran and Yuling Shua, so they didn't need to stay by her side anymore. Min Gran had not disappointed Lu Wei either. She had worked particularly hard these days and could help her handle many things, so Lu Wei didn't have to worry. Unconsciously, the two arrived at the technology department. Min Gran walked straight to a workstation and knocked on a desk. Wu Minghui was startled, looked up, and saw Ran's smiling face. Hey, Assistant In, why are you here? Wu Minghui's face immediately lit up with a smile. She quickly stood up, looking very happy. I already told you, just call me Ran. Min Gran gently patted Wu Minghui's arm and said with a smile. Wu Minghui shook her head and said, How can I do that? I can call you that after work, but during work hours, I should address you as Assistant In. Rules can't be broken. All right. Min Gran couldn't win the argument, nodded, then turned to Tang Ji and introduced, This is Wu Minghui, the daughter of our high school homeroom teacher, Teacher Wang. Oh, really? Tang Ji immediately showed a surprised expression, looking at Wu Minghui in disbelief. Hello. Were you also my mother's student? Hello, yes, my name is Tang Ji. Tang Ji shook her hand, and they introduced themselves. She hadn't expected such a coincidence. Teacher Wang's daughter was also at Tianheng. Tang Ji glanced at her name tag and saw she was a team leader. She instantly understood. This must have been Min Gran looking out for her, promoting her to team leader, right? Knowing Ran's character, she would definitely find a way to repay Teacher Wang, which is why she was taking such good care of her daughter. Afterward, Wu Minghui took the two of them on a tour of the technology department. Because of the incident involving Min Gran, this department had a new head, so it was performing exceptionally well now, with almost no faults to find. It was also the department Min Gran was most satisfied with so far. After the inspection, Min Gran and Tang Ji left, planning to visit other places. Min Gran didn't go to some workshops with radiation and dust, as Lu Wei had explicitly forbidden her from entering such places. Then, the two arrived at the logistics management department. Min Gran rarely came here. It seemed she had only been once. As they passed a warehouse, they suddenly heard very noisy sound from inside. Hey, stop fighting. Enough. Quick, break them up. Don't let them fight. Min Gran and Tang Ji heard this from outside, exchanged a glance, and couldn't help but frown tightly. What's going on? Let's go in and see. The two of them pushed open the warehouse door together. As soon as it opened, they saw two men inside grappling with each other. Their fight looked very intense. One of them had his clothes torn and was covered in dust, as if he had been rolling on the ground. Many of the boxes stacked on the side of the warehouse had been knocked over. Some people were watching the commotion, some were trying to break them up, but they couldn't hold them back at all. Hey, stop! What are you doing? Min Gran shouted as she hurried over. Everyone heard the voice and looked in that direction. Seeing Min Gran and Tang Ji hurrying over, they couldn't help but feel puzzled, wondering who these two were. However, some well-informed people immediately recognized Min Gran. Wasn't she the protagonist of the incident that happened in the technology department a while ago? Because of that incident, a team leader was fired and the department head was directly demoted. It's that presidential assistant, the newly appointed senior leader. Senior leader? Her? How is that possible? She's just a kid. She has connections with the big boss. Let's go. Let's not get into trouble. It has nothing to do with us. Let's go. In an instant, the onlookers quickly left, as if staying a second longer would make them responsible. The two fighting men, after one last tussle, let go of each other, took a few steps back, glaring fiercely at each other while straightening their clothes, which had been pulled out of shape. One of the men, after looking at Min Gran, was momentarily stunned, but only for an instant, then returned to normal. They both looked to be around 50 years old and appeared to be doing manual labor. Min Gran looked at the two and questioned, "All right, what were you fighting about? Doesn't the company have rules? Fighting is not allowed." One of the men waved his hand and said, "It's nothing serious, just a small conflict. We argued and then started fighting." The other man pointed at his opponent and said angrily, "It was originally a small work matter. I couldn't stand what he said about me." Min Gran looked at that person, frowned slightly, and asked, "What did you say?" The man shrugged somewhat awkwardly and said in a low voice, "I was just saying it in anger. I said he deserved it that his wife and child left him." Min Gran couldn't help but frown deeply, thinking, if you say something like that, how could he not get angry? Who would be happy if their wife and child ran away? Isn't this rubbing salt in his wounds? The key is, how long has it been since your wife divorced you? She divorced you right after giving birth. It's been so many years. Why do you still remember it so clearly? What do you know? The man, upon hearing this, seemed to have salt rubbed into his wound again and wanted to rush forward to hit him once more. "Stop!" Min Gran suddenly shouted, startling them both. They stood rooted to the spot. Min Gran had lost her good temper. With a dark face, she said coldly, "If you make another move, I'll call your supervisor. Do you still want to work here or not?" The two men were now intimidated by this young woman in her 20s. They hadn't expected her to have such an imposing aura, not at all like someone her age. The one who had spoken angrily was the first to lower his head and said, all right, I apologize to you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Those were just angry words, old Min Gran suddenly frowned, an expression of surprise on her face. Tang Ji also came to Min Gran's side and whispered in her ear, "His surname is also In." To be honest, Tang Ji had only known one person with the surname In her entire life, and that was Min Gran. Other than her, she didn't know anyone else. Min Gran also found it quite strange, especially his wife and child ran away many years ago. This was enough to make Min Gran suspicious. This man's identity seemed unusual, giving her an ominous premonition. "All right, fine. I shouldn't have resorted to violence either." Old In nodded, accepted the apology, and also lowered his head, saying a word. Then, he looked up at Min Gran and said softly, "I'm sorry, leader. It won't happen again." His gaze involuntarily drifted to the name tag Min Gran was wearing. When he saw Min Gran's name, his eyes suddenly widened, as if struck by lightning. Min Gran noticed his state, narrowed her eyes, and asked faintly, "What's wrong?" Your name is the same as my child's name. Same given name and surname. What a coincidence." Min Gran glanced at her own name tag, pursed her lips, and said, "Oh, is that so? What about your child then?" She's with her mother. Her mother and I divorced a long time ago. The child, I haven't seen her at all. I only know her name. I don't know anything else." When old In said this, he looked very sad and sorrowful, as if he had recalled those painful events from the past. Min Gran suddenly took a deep breath, then slowly exhaled, and asked, "Do you still remember why your wife divorced you?" Old In showed an embarrassed expression, lowered his head, looking extremely ashamed, and for a moment was too embarrassed to speak. Gambling. Yes, as long as you remember." Min Gran nodded lightly, then turned and walked away without saying another word. Old In seemed like he still wanted to say something, but seeing Min Gran walk away so resolutely, he couldn't utter a single word. "Hey, wait for me." Tang Ji also hurried after her, following Min Gran out of there. Tang Ji approached Min Gran and asked cautiously, Ran, I have a question. I don't know if I can ask." "Go on." Tang Ji wasn't stupid. On the contrary, she was very smart. The conversation just now had already allowed her to guess something. "That, your biological father, is it?" "I only have two fathers." Before Tang Ji could finish her question, Min Gran suddenly raised her hand to interrupt her. "One is the father who, although he didn't give birth to me, raised me like his own daughter for over a decade and has passed away. The other is mine and Zhou Heng's father. I only have these two fathers." Min Gran spoke decisively, as if there was no room for discussion. Her eyes, as well as her steps, were very firm, without a trace of hesitation. Oh, okay, I understand. Tang Ji nodded and didn't ask anything further. After all, Min Gran had already spoken to this extent. She didn't need to ask anymore. Tang Ji turned her head and glanced back, seeing that old Ian was still standing there, watching Min Gran leave, as if hoping Min Gran would turn back. But Min Gran had no such intention at all. She just wanted to leave this place quickly. After completing the inspection tour, Min Gran took Tang Ji to eat in Tianning's cafeteria. Afterward, the two of them went back to the office together. Tang Ji leaned back on the sofa and said, Inspecting such a large company is really tiring. Min Gran also sat down and smiled. Are you kidding? Isn't Juanheng even bigger? Juanheng's power has been divided. The president has a share, and the two vice presidents each have a share. Below them, it will continue to be divided. So it's not like Tianheng. At Tianheng, Annie has the final say, right? So, she must be very tired. That's true. Min Gran could understand what Tang Ji was saying. She also knew how hard Lu Wei worked and how many things she had to consider. Lu Wei had said more than once that if she weren't so busy, she would take care of her personally every day. And how could Min Gran let Lu Wei take care of her? She would be too embarrassed, so she gently refused every time. Just then, Min Gran suddenly thought of something and said to Tang Ji, Hey, why don't you call Yuling Shua and ask about her situation? Your relationship with her should be better, right? After all, you two were inseparable for several years in college. Okay, I'll ask. Tang Ji nodded, then took out her phone, preparing to call Yuling Shua. She was actually also very worried about Yuling Shua's situation. Not returning for so many days. Maybe her mother was really seriously ill? The phone connected, rang for about 10 seconds, and then was answered. Hello, Tang Ji. Yuling Shua's voice came from the other end of the phone, not loud, as if she was deliberately lowering her voice. Tang Ji knew she was probably calling from a hospital corridor. It's me. I'm with Ran now. I heard about what happened to you. How are you now? How's Annie? Is she okay? I'm fine. I'm doing great. My mom. She's not in serious condition either, I still need to take care of her for a while. When she gets a bit better, I can come back. Yuling Shua had been taking care of her mother in the hospital for several days. After the surgery, she had to attend to everything these past few days, which was very inconvenient. So, she couldn't leave. Once her mother improved a bit, she could confidently leave her in old Li's care. After all, she had just joined Tianheng not long ago, and she had been entrusted with the important task of taking care of the pregnant Min Gran. She couldn't take such a long leave. Tang Ji suddenly frowned slightly, her expression tensing up, and asked, Are you really okay? Is there anything you need help with? Just say it. You hear me. I heard you, don't worry. It's nothing. I've got it all sorted. Okay, I understand. Then take care of yourself. Make sure to rest. Don't wear yourself out. Okay. Tell Ran I'll be back to take care of her in a little while. Tell her to take good care of herself when she's alone. Okay. Then, the two hung up the phone. Tang Ji put down her phone, looked at Min Gran with a solemn expression, and said, Yuling Shua must have encountered some trouble or problem. Really? Then why didn't she tell me? She said everything was fine. Min Ran's eyes widened, looking at Tang Ji with surprise, not understanding why she would say that. She hadn't heard the content of their phone call, but from what Tang Ji said, it seemed like Yuling Shua should be fine, right? I know her too well. When she says things like that, it's obvious she doesn't want us to worry. She's saying it deliberately, a bit too deliberately. No matter what she said or the tone she used, it was very deliberate. It must be false. Tang Ji had sensed something was wrong when she frowned just now, but she hadn't said it out loud. Then what should we do? If we ask her, she won't tell us. How can we help her? If she encountered a problem or trouble, who do you think it's most likely related to? Tang Ji raised an eyebrow, looked at Min Gran, and asked in a low voice. Error. So, she probably won't say anything. Then what should we do? After I go back, I'll try to investigate this Yuling Hai. There are too many mysteries surrounding him, but it's certain that he's a parasite. We just don't have the evidence to get rid of him. Okay, then I'll trouble you. Min Gran nodded and said seriously. Tang Ji smiled slightly and said, We're all family. Why be so polite? Whether it's helping Zhou Heng, you, or Yuling Shua, it's what I should do. You can rest assured when you leave it to me. Min Gran touched her belly and said softly, Baby, look, your aunt is so reliable. You should learn from your aunt in the future, okay? He can't hear anything right now. He'll hear it sooner or later. Tang Ji stayed until the afternoon and then prepared to leave. Min Gran walked her to the company entrance. All right, you should go back now. Zhou Heng is probably already urging me to go back, because if I go back, he can come and see you. Tang Ji glanced at her phone and saw that Zhou Heng had called her, but she hadn't answered. She didn't need to think to know that he was definitely urging her to go back, so she could take over his work for the day, allowing him to come to Tianheng to see Mingran. Sometimes she really admired Zhou Heng, not minding the trouble, running back and forth like this every few days. Okay, then be careful on your way back. Yes, I know. Tang Ji left Tianheng, preparing to go back to Dongzhou. She had rested well today, spending the day playing with Mingran, and was quite happy. Mingran was even happier. She also missed her friends very much and hoped they could visit her often so she wouldn't feel lonely. But the one she missed most was Zhou Heng. As long as Zhou Heng was by her side, she felt like she lacked nothing. The next morning, Mingran arrived at the office and prepared to start work. She had thought a lot about Yuling Shua last night and was still quite worried. But she had heard from Tang Ji that Yuling Shua would absolutely not proactively talk about what she had encountered, so worrying was useless. Now, she could only hope that Tang Ji's investigation would clarify things. At this moment, outside the office at the stairwell entrance on this floor, a man slowly walked up. He couldn't take the elevator, so he had walked up the stairs. He was now panting, his face red from exhaustion, almost out of breath. He was still wearing a janitor's uniform, holding a mop, looking like someone who had come to clean. And this man was Old Ian. He had suffered from insomnia after returning yesterday, and had been thinking about what happened yesterday during work. Mingran. This was the name he had personally given his daughter. Although, he hadn't called this name for long before he lost the chance to call it again. He was ignorant back then. When his wife was pregnant, he got addicted to gambling, squandered the family's money, refused to repent, and didn't listen to his wife's persuasion. Finally, within a year after his wife gave birth, she couldn't bear it anymore and divorced him. Since then, he had never seen his wife and daughter again. 3 years after the divorce, he realized his mistake, repented, and wanted to find his wife and child back. But there was no way to contact them anymore, as if they had completely disappeared from his world. This made him heartbroken, but he didn't give up the idea of finding them. He didn't remarry, joined Tianheng as a loader, and worked hard to earn money. For over 20 years. He hadn't seen his biological daughter for over 20 years. He just had a feeling that this new senior leader was not just someone with the same name as his daughter. It was highly possible that she was his daughter. The age and everything matched, and her appearance was also strikingly similar to his ex-wife. Old Ian tiptoed to the office door, wanted to first listen to the sounds inside, to hear if anyone was there. Just then, he suddenly heard a voice behind him. Hey, what are you doing? Old Ian was so scared he spun around abruptly, but dared not make a sound because if he did, the people inside would hear. He wasn't here to do anything bad, just wanted to see Mingran one more time. He turned around, looked behind him, and saw a well-dressed young man standing there. The man was well-built and was now looking down at him coldly, exuding a strong sense of pressure. Speak up. What are you sneaking around for? I. Old Ian stood rooted to the spot, momentarily at a loss for words, extremely nervous. He felt like his heart was about to jump into his throat. Code 429. It was normal to be considered someone with ill intentions. How should he explain? Should he tell the truth? That he suspected this leader was his daughter, so he wanted to take a look? If he said that, people would definitely think he was crazy, right? His daughter was such a high-ranking leader, and he was a loader? To outsiders, it would seem like he was desperate to curry favor. I'm just a cleaner. Old Ian held the mop in his hand and explained awkwardly. Although he was still very scared, he didn't know if the young man in front of him would believe his words. Zhou Heng frowned tightly, looking somewhat displeased. He had set off early in the morning, come to Tianheng, planning to find Mingran and spend a good day with her. But as soon as he reached the office door, he encountered this sneaky old man. He was very angry now, suspecting this old man was some kind of bad person. Cleaning? Were you cleaning just now? Your head was almost pressed against the door. What were you trying to do? Not telling the truth, are you? Zhou Heng couldn't possibly believe such nonsense, so he didn't plan to say anything more to him, directly taking out his phone, ready to call the police. Hey, no, you listen to my explanation. Old Ian was still deliberately lowering his voice, afraid that the people inside the office would hear, but in Zhou Heng's eyes, this was a sign of a guilty conscience. Go explain to the police. I don't have time to listen to your explanation. No. Little brother. You don't understand. You don't understand. I had no choice. Please listen to my explanation, okay? You'll understand after you hear my explanation. Old Ian kept pleading with Zhou Heng. He didn't want to be taken away by the police. That would ruin everything. How could he prove to the other party that he wasn't a bad person? It seemed impossible to prove. Who is it? Just then, the office door suddenly opened, and Yin Min Gran stood at the doorway, looking at the two people at the door with a bewildered expression. "Hubby, you're here." Seeing Zhou Heng, Yin Min Gran's face lit up with pleasant surprise, and she waved happily. "Hubby." Old Yin was instantly dumbfounded. This young man in front of him was her husband? She was already married? Married so early? Zhou Heng smiled slightly and said, "Wait a moment. Wifey, I'll call the police first. This guy is sneaky, definitely up to no good." As Zhou Heng spoke, he stood in front of Yin Min Gran, afraid that the other party might act desperately and harm Yin Min Gran. Yin Min Gran glanced at old Yin in front of her, frowned tightly, and immediately understood what was going on. An expression of disgust instantly appeared on her face. She stopped Zhou Heng and said, "It's okay. No need to call the police. Just call security to take him away. He's an employee from the logistics management department." Zhou Heng turned his head in surprise, looked at Yin Min Gran, and asked, "Huh, you know him?" "No, I saw him during yesterday's inspection." Yin Min Gran shook her head and replied without hesitation. Old Yin stared at Yin Min Gran's face. A vague yet clear image seemed to appear in his mind. Vague because it had been too long, and clear because he would never forget this person in his lifetime. Similar. Too similar. Old Yin thought to himself. No wonder he would be dazed whenever he saw Yin Min Gran. She looked so much like his ex-wife when she was young. Her demeanor especially similar. Zhou Heng looked Old Yin up and down and said faintly, "Don't be sneaky next time. Hurry up and leave. If there's a next time, I'll really call the police." Old Yin showed a slightly flustered expression. He knew he couldn't stay long. It was better to say what he needed to say quickly than to be thrown out by security. "That is your mother, named Liang Yunan." Old Yin shouted loudly. Upon hearing this, Yin Min Gran's brows furrowed tightly, her tone revealing annoyance. "What's it to you?" No denial. Old Yin was overjoyed. If it wasn't true, she would have denied it immediately, right? Doesn't saying this mean she's admitting it? Which means she really is his daughter. After more than 20 years, he had finally found his biological daughter. Old Yin pointed at himself, so excited he could barely speak, his eyes wide, holding it in for a long time before shouting, I am your father." In an instant, the air seemed to freeze. All three of them instantly fell silent. In the next second, Zhou Heng, as if his anger had flared up, frowned and shouted, "WOC? You're really pushing your luck, aren't you? Say that again. Whose father?" As he spoke, Zhou Heng walked forward. His physique in front of Old Yin could completely block him. Old Yin quickly retreated a few steps, raised his hand, and said flusteredly, "Hey, don't hit me. What I said is true. My name is Yin Junping. I really am her father." "Huh?" Zhou Heng was taken aback, turned his head to look at Yin Min Gran, blinked, his eyes seeming to ask, "Is what he said true?" Yin Min Gran crossed her arms, closed her eyes, and sighed, looking very helpless. She slowly opened her mouth and said, "What exactly do you want? Do you need something?" "This." Yin Junping was instantly speechless. He opened his mouth, his gaze fixed, and didn't say a word for a long time. Yin Min Gran's attitude was already very clear. Didn't this mean, "So what if you are? Do you need something?" How could one have this attitude towards their biological father? How could this be? Yin Junping stood there like a deflated balloon, his head hanging low, and said in a low voice, I wanted to ask, is your mother okay?" "She passed away." Yin Junping abruptly raised his head, his eyes wide, his face full of horror, an expression of extreme shock, his mouth also wide open. "This? How? How could this be?" For so many years, he had still thought about his ex-wife, still thought about them, mother and daughter. He knew his ex-wife must have remarried. He would also worry if that man would treat her well, if he would treat his daughter well. But how could she have passed away? This news was a bit too heavy for him. He couldn't accept it for a moment. Zhou Heng came to Yin Min Gran's side and put his arm around her. He knew that Yin Min Gran would definitely feel bad when she mentioned her mother's passing. Yin Min Gran also held Zhou Heng's hand, understanding his thoughts, and looked at him with a gentle smile. "A car accident a few years ago took her away forever. I'm doing very well now, so don't worry about me. Or are you perhaps looking to get something?" Yin Min Gran's delicate brows furrowed slightly. She didn't know what Yin Junping was really after, but if he was trying to get something from her, it was absolutely impossible. No, I just wanted to see you." Yin Junping shook his head. It seemed Yin Min Gran's mother's death had hit him hard, making him look rather listless, and he spoke weakly. Don't disturb my life anymore. That's all." After saying this, Yin Min Gran pulled Zhou Heng inside and closed the office door, shutting Yin Junping out. Bang! Yin Junping stared at the cold door in front of him, momentarily unsure what to do. Sighing, he silently left. Yes, what was he doing here? Did he still expect a reunion? He gambled when his wife was pregnant, stayed out all night, every day, argued with her during her pregnancy, causing a premature birth. After the child was born, he hadn't taken care of her for a single day. After the divorce, he remained stubbornly unrepentant, even thinking it was great to be divorced with no one to control him. But when he finally came to his senses, he realized it was too late. He had already done too many unforgivable things. The mother and daughter hadn't sought him out again. They were thoroughly disappointed in him. Now, no matter what had happened, his ex-wife had passed away and his daughter was married and had become a top executive in this big company. And he was here now, trying to reconnect? Was he crazy? Thinking about it carefully, he was too shameless. No wonder his daughter treated him this way. Sigh. Yin Junping sighed, knowing he shouldn't appear again. His presence would only be annoying. Yin Junping returned to his post and was reprimanded for leaving without permission. He was absent-minded all morning, his thoughts wandering even while working. But the physical toll of the loading and unloading work was unavoidable. At noon, Yin Junping sat in the rest area, eating a flatbread, wiping his sweat, and muttering, "I wonder how much longer I can do this." He knew his body was getting worse day by day. He was old, and his body couldn't handle such labor. Now he just hoped to work one more day, then another. In the afternoon, just as Yin Junping was about to start work, he was suddenly called out. "Yin Junping, wait a moment." He looked up and saw someone walking towards him. "Department head, what is it?" The person was the head of their department. Yin Junping didn't know why the department head had suddenly sought him out. "Come, follow me. Don't do this work anymore." The department head beckoned, signaling Yin Junping to follow him. "Okay." Yin Junping quickly took off his gloves, stuffed them in his pocket, and followed. The department head led Yin Junping to another warehouse, where there was a small office. Though rather crude, it was an office nonetheless. "Here, you'll work here from now on. Warehouse management, handling outbound and inbound goods. Can you manage that?" This? Me? Really?" Yin Junping looked at the department head in astonishment, asking in disbelief. The department head nodded and said, "Yes. Isn't this a good job? The pay is about the same, and it's not tiring. I'll get someone to teach you. Don't make any mistakes." Watching the department head leave, Yin Junping looked at the office that was soon to be his, feeling like he was dreaming. He had done manual labor, physical work, his whole life. He never thought he'd get an office job at this age. In an instant, he realized what had happened. How could he suddenly be transferred to a new position? It was impossible for him to be suddenly promoted by a leader. The only possibility was Yin Mengran. Yin Junping slumped into the chair, looked at the desk in front of him, reached out, and gently touched it, murmuring, "So that's how it is?" "Indeed, you're just like your mother, so gentle. Even though our relationship is like this, you're still willing to look out for me like this." He knew very well that Yin Mengran had arranged this for him. This was probably her final act of kindness. Treating him this way was truly doing everything possible. Yin Junping exhaled, a smile playing on his lips, and said softly, "Child, I won't disturb you anymore. Just be happy. Mom, come eat." Yuling Shua blew on the food on the spoon, and then fed it to her mother. She had been taking care of her mother in the hospital for about half a month now, and she could see her mother getting better day by day. This made her very happy, seeing her mother improve a little each day. "Xiao Shua, I'm fine. Your uncle can take care of me here. You should go back. Get busy with your things. Don't let this delay you," Yuling Shua's mother said with some concern. She could actually eat by herself now, but Yuling Shua insisted on feeding her and waiting on her every day. Having such a filial child naturally made her happy, but at the same time, she was uneasy, worried that she was holding her child back. She already knew that Yuling Shua was working at Tianheng in Hujo, in a decent position, all thanks to a friend's help. Now, with this incident, Yuling Shua hadn't been to work for nearly half a month. She was already very worried, concerned that Yuling Shua's friend might be displeased, especially since she had just started working and had taken such a long leave. Yuling Shua, however, didn't seem too bothered. Although she was also afraid of delaying her work, she couldn't neglect her mother. "It's okay, Mom. My friend Ran. She's a very, very good girl. Didn't you think so too when you met her before? She won't pick on me. When you're almost better, I'll go back." "Sigh. It's precisely because she's so good that you shouldn't disappoint her." All right, I know. You just focus on getting better. The faster you recover, the sooner I can go back." Yuling Shua smiled faintly. Just then, her phone rang. She temporarily put down the bowl she was holding and hurried out of the ward with her phone, because she saw that the caller was her father, Yuling Hai. "Hello, Dad. Tomorrow is when you fulfill your promise, remember? You're going on a blind date tomorrow. It's all arranged." No mishaps allowed, understand? TSK. Sigh. Yuling Shua leaned against the wall, clicked her tongue, and sighed. She had been thinking about this matter for the past few days. She knew she would face this day sooner or later and had rehearsed countless times in her mind how to resolve it. Did you hear me? If you dare to back out now, I'll definitely make you pay the price. Your mother is still in the hospital. You know that, right? Yu Yinghai's voice on the phone was full of threat, leaving Yuling Shua no room to refuse. And Yuling Shua understood this, so she didn't intend to refuse, not even for her mother's sake. She couldn't afford to offend Yu Yinghai. Yuling Shua took a deep breath, exhaled slowly, and replied faintly, I know, I won't back out. Good. He'll pick you up from the hospital tomorrow. Dress nicely. If I find out you deliberately sabotaged the blind date, I'll make you pay the price, just the same. After saying that, Yu Yinghai hung up. After listening, Yuling Shua leaned weakly against the wall. She now had absolutely no good feelings left for this father. What kind of father speaks to his daughter with such threats? She wasn't his enemy, but she certainly wasn't his family either. She was just his tool, a pawn. TSK. So annoying. Yuling Shua punched the wall lightly, venting a little of her frustration, then returned to the ward. Even if tomorrow was hell, she had to take good care of her mother for this last day. Yuling Shua's mother seemed to notice that Yuling Shua wasn't quite herself after taking the call, her mood appearing quite bad. But she didn't dare ask anything. Now that her child was grown, she had her own ideas. As a mother, she couldn't pry, fearing she would worry her. At night, after her mother fell asleep, Yuling Shua temporarily left. She was told to dress nicely, but she didn't have any nice clothes at the hospital. If she could, she'd rather wear a hospital gown, preferably one for psychiatric patients. Early the next morning, Yuling Shua reluctantly got herself ready. Light makeup, simple jewelry, and a plain dress. Every detail betrayed her unwillingness. This was the most she would dress up this time. After a while, Yuling Shua's phone rang. She took it out and saw it was an unfamiliar number. Normally, she wouldn't answer unfamiliar numbers, but seeing how fancy this phone number was, she knew the owner was not simple. It must be the call she least wanted to receive. Hello. Hello. May I ask if this is Yuling Shua? Yes, it's me. Oh, hello. I'm Yin Lingwen. You should know, right? I don't need to explain, do I? No need. Yuling Shua's replies were brief and perfunctory, wishing she could embed the word indifference into her tone. Okay, are you free now? Can I come pick you up? We could go shopping first, then have a meal. I know you still need to take care of your mother, so after dinner in the afternoon, I'll take you back, okay? Question mark. Yuling Shua couldn't help but frown, feeling a little puzzled. This wasn't quite what she had imagined. Wasn't this guy supposed to be very annoying? So polite, so well-mannered, so tactful, and so considerate? He must be faking it. Yes, I'm free. Okay, I'll come pick you up now. After hanging up, Yuling Shua waited outside the hospital, playing with her phone. She had originally wanted to say a few words to Yin Mingran and Tang Ji. At times like this, she really needed the comfort of good friends. But on second thought, she decided against it. Telling them would definitely make them worry. They were already very busy every day with so many things. How could she let them divert their attention to her matters? That would be too selfish. Strange. My mirror. Yuling Shua rummaged through her bag. As she was searching, something fell out. Yuling Shua blinked, took a closer look, and found it was a handkerchief. It seemed to be the one Bai Tsang had handed her last time, which she had taken with her. If you need my help, just ask. Bai Tsang's words from that night echoed in her mind. Fisk, why am I thinking about this? Yuling Shua shook her head, trying to shake off the thought, then picked up the handkerchief from the ground and put it back in her bag. Even if she needed help, she couldn't possibly go to him. Or was she just thinking? Yuling Shua waited a little longer. Just then, a car pulled up in front of her. She looked up and saw the driver's side window slowly roll down, revealing a man sitting there, smiling at her. Yuling Shua? Yuling Shua nodded. She knew this man must be Yin Lingwen. He wasn't bad-looking. The car he drove wasn't ostentatious either. Yuling Shua had thought someone like him would drive a convertible supercar or something. Yin Lingwen got out, walked around to the passenger side, opened the door, looked at Yuling Shua, and said with a slight bow, "Please get in." Yuling Shua rolled her eyes at him, but still maintained her politeness, replying faintly, "Thank you." Then, she got into the car. After getting in, she found the faint fragrance inside the car quite pleasant, like flowers. After Yin Lingwen got in, he pointed to the back. Yuling Shua was a bit puzzled, turned her head to look, and her eyes widened instantly. There was a large bouquet of flowers in the back, arranged as if intentionally, looking very romantic. If it were a normal romantic relationship, seeing such a small surprise would definitely bring happiness. But Yuling Shua found it a bit strange. This Enlisting was quite thoughtful. However, wasn't this just a simple blind date for her? It was said to be a business marriage, but she definitely had no such intentions. It would be best if Enlisting didn't have those intentions either. That way, they could reach a consensus, casually fool their parents, and it would be over. But looking at it now, he seemed very much interested. Yuling Shua turned her head away, no longer looking at the back, pretending she hadn't seen anything and showing no reaction. But just then, Enlisting suddenly took out another gift box and handed it to Yuling Shua. "A meeting gift, please accept it." Yuling Shua glanced at it, shook her head, and said, "It's our first meeting, you don't need to give me a gift. I won't accept it. It's precisely because it's our first meeting that I should give a meeting gift. Don't worry, it's nothing expensive, just a small token of my regard." Enlisting smiled faintly and gently placed the gift in Yuling Shua's hands. Yuling Shua lowered her head, looking at the not-so-exquisite gift box. It felt more like a gift box one would bring when visiting relatives. Its size also piqued her curiosity. If it were an expensive necklace or ring, the box wouldn't be this big. "Open it and see. I've already bought it. I have no use for it. And if you give it back to me, I have no one else to give it to. Then it would have been bought for nothing." Enlisting tilted his chin slightly and said softly. Yuling Shua was somewhat surprised, not knowing what it was. But since he said so, it successfully aroused her curiosity. Yuling Shua slowly unwrapped the gift box and opened it. She found that it wasn't a single gift inside, but a set. A tonic gift set. Inside were various famous tonics, neatly arranged. This is... I was very sorry to hear about your mother's injury and hospitalization. Take these back for your aunt to recuperate well." Enlisting's kind smile made Yuling Shua genuinely doubt for a moment, wondering if she had truly misunderstood him. Could he be a very good person? "Oh, thank you." Yuling Shua nodded, her tone softening slightly. Regardless of whether the other party was genuine or faking it, receiving such a thoughtful gift still warranted a proper thank you. I'm glad you accepted it. Then let's proceed with our original plan and go for a stroll first. I won't keep you for long. After all, you still need to take care of your mother. Enlisting drove the car away from the hospital. Yuling Shua held her phone in her hand, still cautious. She was afraid Enlisting might do something inappropriate, so she could call for help immediately. Fortunately, nothing happened along the way. Enlisting didn't even keep staring at Yuling Shua. He drove attentively, occasionally glancing at the rearview mirror. When their eyes met, he would just give a faint smile. Subsequently, Enlisting drove the car to a shopping mall. Yuling Shua recognized it at first glance as their own family's mall, bearing the logo of the Dongzhu Linguan Group. The group was actually named after his son. It seemed his chairman really doted on his son. The group would surely be inherited by his son in the future. Yuling Shua was puzzled. Generally, shouldn't a young master who grew up spoiled be very nasty? It didn't quite match his current words and actions. "All right, we're here. Let's go." Enlisting parked the car in a dedicated parking spot in the mall's parking lot, then got out first and thoughtfully opened the car door for Yuling Shua. After getting out of the car, Yuling Shua deliberately kept some distance from Enlisting. Enlisting walked in front, and she followed silently, not too far nor too close. To an outsider, it would seem they knew each other, but definitely not well. Inside the mall, Yuling Shua saw that the customer traffic was still very high. Even though it wasn't the weekend, many people were shopping here. As Enlisting walked, he looked back at Yuling Shua and said, "Let me take you to a shop I particularly like. I always go there when I come here." Yuling Shua was taken aback. Although she didn't know what kind of shop it was, since it was in a mall, it probably wouldn't be anything too strange. So she nodded and said, Okay." Then, Yuling Shua followed Enlisting to the third floor of the mall, where there was an exceptionally large jewelry store. Yuling Shua, following behind, froze in place for a moment, surprised. She hadn't expected Enlisting to want to bring her to this kind of store. Enlisting looked back, smiled, and said, "Coming." Oh, since she was already here, she couldn't just stand there, so she might as well go in and browse. As soon as she walked in, the sales manager, standing inside, saw Enlisting, and her eyes lit up. "Young Master Yen, you're here. Oh my, it's been a while since you last came." The sales manager, in high heels, hurried over, bowed, and said respectfully. She also glanced at Yuling Shua beside him, and in an instant her eyes showed a look of "I understand everything." Enlisting nodded and said, "Bring out the one I ordered a while ago." "Right away. Coming right up." The sales manager nodded quickly and hurried back. Yuling Shua felt a little uneasy. She suspected Enlisting might be planning to give her something. Those tonics for her mother, she had accepted them. But these expensive jewels, she couldn't accept them. She was just here to go through the motions. If she accepted the gifts, how would she get out of this? After a while, the sales manager returned, holding a box. She placed it on the counter and opened it. The contents inside sparkled brilliantly. On the display mold inside hung an exquisite diamond necklace. The diamond was as big as a pigeon's egg, exceptionally shiny, and the craftsmanship was exquisite. One look and you knew it was incredibly valuable. Upon seeing it, Yuling Shua was astonished, staring blankly. Yin Lingwen directly took the necklace off, walked over to Yuling Shua, and in the next second was about to put on her. Hey! Yuling Shua instantly reacted, took a step back, and looked at Yin Lingwen warily, asking, "What are you doing?" "It's for you. Don't you like it?" The corners of Yin Lingwen's eyes curved slightly, as if smiling, and his words seemed to imply it was a matter of course. Yuling Shua quickly shook her head and said, "No, I don't want it. Don't give me gifts, especially such an expensive one." What? Yuling Shua was still wary, frowning slightly, not knowing what Yin Lingwen was up to. Yin Lingwen carefully approached, lowered his voice, and whispered, "I know. You're not on good terms with your father right now. He threatened you and cut off your money, right?" Yuling Shua was suddenly stunned, her eyes wide as she looked at him. "How did you know?" "I investigated. I want to help you." "Really? Your mother is still hospitalized, you're working so hard, and you're being threatened by your father. I really can't stand by and watch. I really want to help you. But I can't just transfer money to you or something. First, you definitely wouldn't accept it, and second, your father would find out." Yin Lingwen picked up the necklace and continued. "I thought of a way. This is a gift for you. Perfectly legitimate. He can't interfere. In a critical moment, you can sell it. To use in an emergency." Hearing Yin Lingwen's words, Yuling Shua was stunned. She never expected. This was what he was thinking. He was actually this kind of person. This was a bit too good, wasn't it? Wasn't it strange? You really think so?" Yuling Shua looked at him in disbelief, asking in surprise. "Of course. Otherwise, why would I give you something like this on our first meeting, knowing you'd never accept it? I just want to help you. At the same time, I have a little selfish motive too." "What selfish motive?" "I really like you a lot." Yuling Shua was momentarily speechless, her thin lips unable to meet, her eyes appearing somewhat dazed. Yin Lingwen continued, "It's because I like you so much that I want to help you. Really, I don't expect anything in return. You know, this amount of money is nothing to me. But if it can help you, that's enough." Yuling Shua's mind was a blank, as if it had crashed, losing the ability to think. She really didn't know what to say. Yin Lingwen had spoken to this extent. What should she say? I still can't accept it. Don't give it to me." Yuling Shua still waved her hand, wanting to refuse. She felt she still couldn't accept this. Even if it really meant nothing to Yin Lingwen, she couldn't just casually accept someone else's gift. It would make her seem materialistic. She would feel embarrassed even if a familiar person gave her a gift, let alone someone she didn't know well. And he even said things like he liked her. Then she definitely couldn't accept it. Wouldn't accepting it mean she accepted his affection? Yin Lingwen held the necklace in his hand, lowered his head, looking somewhat dejected, and said softly, "Is that so? Well, all right, I won't force you. However, since it's something I've given, I won't take it back. This already belongs to you. I'll leave it here. You can take it whenever you want." Yin Lingwen called over the sales manager and put the necklace back. Yuling Shua turned her head away, biting her lip, constantly telling herself not to pay too much attention to what he said. Was it because she had never been on a date with a man before? Her mind had clearly warned her not to trust him, that he might be faking it, but hearing these words still made her waver a little. Perhaps it was because she had never heard such words before. Afterwards, they left the shop and went to browse elsewhere. During the process, they chatted occasionally, but mostly about serious topics. Yin Lingwen talked about the Dongzhu Lingwen group, and Yuling Shua listened quite attentively. After a while, Yuling Shua needed to go to the restroom, and Yin Lingwen said he would wait for her outside. When Yuling Shua came out, she saw Yin Lingwen standing there, his hand behind his back. "What's wrong?" Yuling Shua asked, slightly puzzled, frowning. "Can you eat ice cream?" "Huh, I guess so." "Why do you ask?" "That's good, because you have a great figure. I thought you must manage yourself strictly. Then I wouldn't know what to do with this." Yin Lingwen chuckled, then took out 2 ice creams from behind his back and handed one to Yuling Shua. Yuling Shua blinked, staring at the ice cream in front of her for a moment. Just while she was in the restroom, Yin Lingwen went to buy ice cream. She hadn't expected that such a young master would be willing to eat such ordinary ice cream. Wasn't this just like a normal date? Seeing Yuling Shua still dazed, Yuling said. For you. You didn't accept the expensive gift, so please do me the honor of accepting this ice cream. Okay? Otherwise, it'll melt soon. Wouldn't throwing it away be a waste? Oh, okay, thank you. Yuling didn't want to waste things either. The ice cream didn't cost much, so she might as well accept it. Thus, she took it from Yuling. She was actually regretting it a bit now. If she had known, she would have prepared some kind of meeting gift herself. Even if she was just going through the motions, she shouldn't lose her manners. The other party was giving her this and that, and she didn't want to owe favors. So Yuling started to think, if worse came to worst, could she find a way to buy a gift to return later? But he probably didn't lack anything. What did she give him? She couldn't afford a very expensive gift either. What are you thinking about? Let's go. Come play with me for a bit. Play what? Yuling looked up, surprised. Then, she saw Yuling pointing to a claw machine arcade across the way. Claw machines? He wanted to play claw machines? Was he really the son of the Dongzhu Lingwen group chairman? The content of the date was very ordinary, just like regular people. How about it? You don't think I'm childish, do you? Ha ha. No, not at all. Yuling shook her head. She didn't think it was childish or anything, just very surprised. Then let's go. We can go eat after playing for a while. After eating, it'll be over. I'll take you back. You must be anxious, thinking about going back to take care of your mother. I understand you. I chose to have her date here. Actually, it's for others to see. This way, it's easier for you to report back, right? Yuling face still wore an understanding smile, which made Yuling stare blankly. After a few seconds, Yuling nodded lightly and slowly said, quite thoughtful. Really? Ha ha. If you can praise me like that, I'm very satisfied. Thank you. You're welcome. The two went to the shop across the street, preparing to play for a while. Yuling held game tokens, stood in front of a machine, pointed at a doll inside, and asked Yuling, is this one good looking? Is it easier to grab? Yuling shook her head and said, I don't know. All right, let me try. Yuling inserted a game token, then focused on operating the machine, moving the joystick, and positioning the mechanical claw directly above a doll. Clack! After pressing the button, the mechanical claw descended, grabbed the doll, and lifted it up. Got it! Yuling's eyes lit up, and he said excitedly. However, when it reached the top, the mechanical claw suddenly loosened, and the doll fell. Damn! Yuling's mouth twitched instantly, and he bumped his forehead against the glass, muttering helplessly. Seeing this, Yuling suddenly couldn't hold back and let out a soft laugh, covering her mouth. Yuling suddenly turned his head, looked at Yuling, blinked, looking very surprised. Yuling felt a bit awkward being looked at, pursed her lips, and asked what? You look really beautiful when you smile. Yuling was taken aback by Yuling's words and quickly turned her head away. Her expression looked very embarrassed, but her ears were a little red. No man had ever said such things to her. Hearing such words now, why did it feel like this? She was just here to go through the motions. After lunch, once the task was completed, she would leave. From then on, they would go their separate ways and have no contact, if possible. Why did she care about what he said? Well, I'm no good at this. You try. Yuling moved to another machine and pointed at it. Oh, I probably can't grab anything either. Yuling walked over, took a game token, inserted it, and prepared to try casually. She controlled the joystick, aimed at a doll, pressed the button, and the claw went down. The mechanical claw grabbed the doll, lifted it up, but this time it didn't let go. Instead, it held on firmly, moved to the prize chute, released, and the doll fell out. Yuling's mouth fell slightly open, her face full of surprise. She succeeded on her first try? Wow. Amazing. Wow. That's great. Yuling immediately started clapping beside her, looking very excited. His eyes also showed more admiration for Yuling. Yuling squatted down, picked up the doll, held it in her hand, and looked at it for a while. Then, her gaze swept to the shop assistant. The assistant glanced at her and immediately lowered his head. In an instant, Yuling seemed to understand something. Yuling looked at Yuling and asked, this machine, did you have the assistant adjust the probability? If I try again, will I still be able to grab one? Yuling was instantly stunned, stammering, what are you saying? I don't understand. Yuling didn't waste words, directly took another game token, inserted it, and tried again. Things were indeed as she thought. The mechanical claw seemed to have inexhaustible strength, grabbing the doll and not letting go, directly depositing it into the prize chute. Yuling took out that doll as well, looked at Yuling and pouted. Do you think I'm very stupid? Yin Lingwen scratched his head awkwardly, momentarily unsure how to explain. After a moment, he said, because I know you're taking care of your mother, it's very hard, and you must be in a bad mood and very tense, so I just wanted to make you happy, help you relax. I'm sorry. A flash of surprise crossed Yu Lingshue's eyes. Everything Yin Lingwen had done, was it all to make her happy? Really? Was this really necessary? Hadn't she already made her stance clear, that she was just here to go through the motions? Even so, he was still willing to try and make her happy? You don't need to apologize. It's okay. Yu Lingxue shook her head. Seeing Yin Lingwen with his head hanging low, like a puppy that had done something wrong, felt particularly interesting. She was soft-hearted by nature, and seeing him like this, she couldn't bring herself to say anything more. Then, as long as you're not angry with me, that's fine. How about this? Let's go eat then. You must be anxious, right? Yin Lingwen looked up, smiled slightly at Yu Lingxue, and said. Yu Lingxue bit her lip and replied, okay, let's go, I've booked a restaurant. Yu Lingxue followed Yin Lingwen out of the mall, got into his car, and went to the restaurant. This restaurant was, of course, also one of Yin Lingwen's family's establishments. According to him, it was all an act for others to see, to make it easier for Yu Lingxue to report back. Yu Lingxue didn't find anything wrong with it, thinking he was quite considerate. You don't want to be secretly photographed, do you? So I booked a private room. Is that okay? Yin Lingwen walked into the private room of the restaurant. The decor inside was quite normal, not too strange, just a table and 2 chairs. Oh, okay, I guess. Yu Lingxue indeed didn't want to be secretly photographed. As a rich second generation, Yin Lingwen was actually recognized by quite a few people and could be considered a semi-public figure. Dating him outside really carried the risk of being secretly photographed. If she were photographed and it was posted online and Min Gran and the others saw it, she would want to die. That's good. Please sit. Yin Lingwen sat down and pointed to the seat opposite him. Yu Lingxue slowly walked over and sat down. After sitting down, Yu Lingxue said, oh, by the way, I'll say this in advance, I don't drink alcohol. She was still vigilant, not drinking alcohol, nor any drinks Yin Lingwen handed her. Yin Lingwen nodded and said, of course, we won't drink alcohol. You can have mineral water if you like. Yin Lingwen snapped his fingers, and a waiter from outside immediately came in and placed 2 unopened bottles of mineral water on the table, the kind that cost over 100 yuan per bottle. Thank you. Yu Lingxue was relatively satisfied. It seemed now, this Yin Lingwen might not be so bad. Do you want to personally supervise our food? I can take you to the back kitchen to watch them cook. That won't be necessary, it's fine. Yu Lingxue was taken aback, waved her hand, and refused. She wasn't that paranoid, but she hadn't expected Yin Lingwen to suddenly suggest it. Had she given him an impression of being overly cautious? After a while, the food was served. Exquisite dishes, desserts, etc. were placed on the table. Yin Lingwen didn't say much, tied his own napkin, looked at Yu Lingxue, and asked, do you need my help? No need, thank you. Yu Lingxue tied her own napkin, but didn't know where to start. Should she really eat? It wouldn't be good not to eat. And Yin Lingwen had already started eating, seemingly genuinely wanting to finish quickly and then send her back. Was this blind date going to end so simply? This was too easy. All the countermeasures she had thought of were useless. Perhaps she had really overthought things. Yu Lingxue temporarily relaxed her guard and began to eat in small bites. About 10 minutes later, Yin Lingwen's eyes began to wander over Yu Lingxue's body from time to time. However, Yu Lingxue didn't notice. Hey, you got something on your dress. Let me get it for you. Where? Before Yu Lingxue could react, Yin Lingwen's hand reached over, as if to remove something from her dress. But the moment his hand touched her, Yu Lingxue suddenly felt a small, sharp pain. Ahis! Yu Lingxue's leg jerked violently, recoiling to the side, away from Yin Lingwen's hand. She didn't know what had just pricked her. What was that? Yu Lingxue looked up, frowning at Yin Lingwen. But this glance made her instantly freeze. She saw Yin Lingwen's face. It seemed to have changed, his expression also somewhat intriguing. Guess.